Oh, there you go. All right. Hello, hello, hello. What is up, everybody? Look, I'm so excited about today's episode of Elliot Connie Live. Um, and I'm so grateful that all you guys are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before we do anything else, I need you guys to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It means the absolute world to me that you guys support my work. And I'm promising y'all, man, it doesn't cost you anything, but it means the world to me when you show your support in this way. I want to talk to you a little bit about today's guest, who is on her way. She's not quite here yet, but she's on her way. I was just texting her. Um, I started using my platform, so I've had a pretty large platform for several years, but for the most part, I've used that platform to connect with and teach psychotherapists. I'm pretty well known for doing something called solution focused brief therapy. Those are a couple of my books over my shoulder there. So I'm pretty well known for doing something called solution focused brief therapy, and I've traveled around the world teaching people to do it. And that was what my platform's focus was about. A few years ago, that started feeling um, unsatisfying. It started not unsatisfying. Like I still enjoy the work, but it started feeling like I want to do more and use my voice in a bigger way. Wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do that, but like that was genuinely how I felt. Then early this year, I don't really know what happened, but I was in LA when it happened. I'll never forget. I was in LA. I have a good friend named Jeremy. He's a comic, and we were gonna go to the comedy club, and he didn't know that like all this stuff was like swirling around in my head. Like he didn't know that this stuff was kind of baking within me. And we were at my Airbnb getting ready to go to the comedy club, and I said, "Man, I need to do something." So I made a video. You guys might have seen it. It was actually about Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. And because I wanted to use my video to help people from a clinical perspective understand the things that they're seeing on social media. And that just felt more like how I wanted to use my voice and use my platform. So I started posting daily about things I was seeing on the news, seeing in social media, whatever. And through that journey, people started watching my views, watching my videos, and paying closer attention to me. And through that journey, one of the stories that I eventually covered was the um, unfortunate uh, disappearance and then ultimate death of the young man Nolan Wells. And one of the things that immediately stood out to me as a clinician is how different Nolan Wells's disappearance and then ultimately death was covered. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Okay, look in your hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So one of the first things I wanted to point out was the difference in how the Nolan Wells case was being covered by the media and how people were talking about it on social media. Because if we're going to be a mentally healthy society, which is my hope, goal, and aim, if we're going to be those things, then we have to learn what biases are and how biases influence the way we digest material and the way we cover material. And I started paying a lot closer attention to the case and realized the whole world is caught up in this Nolan Wells case. Um, what happened to Nolan? What what do these boys that were with him? What do they know or not know? Um, what is happening in Gulf Springs, Mississippi? And through that process, I got to know a woman named Tezlyn Figaro. Now, Tezlyn Figaro is she is working with the legal team and the family. Last week, when I did the interview with former Officer Brandon Tatum, Tezlyn was with the mother and father of Nolan Wells watching that interview. So there's so much speculation, so much like misinformation, so much confusion Um, I thought it would be important to have someone as knowledgeable and as credible as Tezlyn on our platform so that we can see what is really happening and so that we can gain an understanding of what is real versus what is not. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up Tezlyn Figaro, who is a veteran. She is a brilliant woman. She is a budding legal mind. She has clerked on many high profile cases with Benjamin Crump's team. She is on her way to being an attorney herself. Um, and she is a very strong person. I've gotten to know her a lot over the last few weeks. So I'm going to bring Tezlyn up. Welcome, Tezlyn.
Hello, welcome. Thank you. My
You,
apologies for being tardy.
that's all right. That's quite all right. Yeah. So where I want to start, you were watching my interview with former Officer Tatum last week, and you were watching with Nolan Wells' parents,
Mhm.
which I want to ask about in a minute. But my first question I want to ask you is, um, what was your response to being referred to as super ghetto?
Oh, I loved it. And you and you probably have to do a whole session on me to you probably will tell me better what my response is. And again, thank you for being here. Um Charlemagne named me the Hood Whisperer, Black Effect. I see you have your Black Effect gear on. I too,
Yeah,
as you know, have a podcast on the Black Effect Podcast Network.
I
And
do too. Family therapy. Everybody go check it out on Black Fit Podcast
yeah,
Network. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, iHeartRadio. Let's go.
subscribe, like. so so Charlemagne named me the Hood Whisperer because and I've always had these different mantras. But he did that because of my ability to be able to speak to various different walks of life, and not from a standpoint of, oh, I know them, or I learned about them, or I've interviewed enough of them. And when I say them, I'm talking about the least of these, the disenfranchised, those who have been not selected, those who have been ejected, if you will.
Left
those are
out.
those are the ones that live in the ghettos. Now, it's not a term that we typically use today, but if you look at the historical word of ghetto, and why Too Short wrote the ghetto, and why Willie D and Scarface, our good friends, are the ghetto boys, and all of those things, when we talk about the ghetto and what happens in those environments. And so when Charlemagne named me that, um, it was because of my ability to be able to talk to a lot of the homies, if you will. There's a lot of clips out there that people can. I grew up in an environment that, although my mother was the epitome of a lady, Alpha Kappa Alpha, did not say a cuss word. She was in Ebony magazine. She was just, I mean, way up here, Elliot. Like, as far as the stereotype, she was literally Claire Huxtable in every way. And from mannerism, she favored her. She carried herself like that. But we grew up in a neighborhood where, even when I would walk outside in the 90s, in the late 90s, gangs took over. And so I went to a school that was a Piru blood school. I dated gang
What
members.
city? What city?
This was in Oklahoma City at the time.
Oklahoma
And
City.
this is
Okay.
critically important, because a lot of people say, oh, wow, I can't believe you. What do you mean in Oklahoma? And I usually don't even say the city, but I think it's important. If you go back and listen to Ice Cube's song Vacation Day, he talks about Oklahoma. So in this era of time, Oklahoma is the heartland. It's right in the center. If you look at the amount of federal cases that people got through the 94 crime bill in Oklahoma during that era, it will blow your mind. Did you know that more black women are serving federal time in Oklahoma than any other state? And it was connected to the drug activity during that era. So in that era, although it was Oklahoma, I'm sorry, I'm echoing. I don't know if it's on my end. In that era in Oklahoma in the 90s, we mimicked California. So a lot of people be like, hey, are you from California? They know I don't talk like I'm from California, but the terminology that I use, the words that the constitutions, if you will, that I grew up, having to abide by in my neighborhood, like it actually mattered what you wore and your colors and all those different things. And every region is different. So because I still have those long-standing relationships of the guys I grew up with, because if I point out scars on my body, from living in that environment, I've been able to explain politics, and I'll answer it quickly, but I've been able to explain politics to a lot of the homies and a lot of people that don't get it, because I can use terminology that I'm not just familiar with, but I lived. And so he named me that as somebody that gets it. So when he said super ghetto, and again, I hear this all the time. Oh, she's ghetto. Oh, she's an angry black woman. All of the tropes. I lean into those things. I remove the power away from it immediately because I lean into it. So if you say, oh, she's super ghetto, I looked at it as a superhero. Not only do I stand for the least of these in the ghetto, I do it in a super way. In a super way. So when you look at the definition of super, what it means to be super, and what the ghetto is, I know he wanted to use it in a negative way, but if we look at what the ghetto is, I am proud to be able to say that I stand for the least of these. So although I appreciated you defending me, that was great. That you come from that lens to be able to say, no, she's not ghetto. Dealing with a woman that actually.
No. I said don't call her that.
Okay,
Like, I'm not saying you're not ghetto, because I'm like you. I'm proud to be where I'm from, and
right.
I want to give some historical context.
Yes.
The word ghetto actually has nothing to do with blackness.
Right.
The word ghetto became very prominent during World War II because they were putting the Jews in Nazi Germany in the ghetto, which obviously had nothing to do with blackness. To Tezlyn's point, they try to use that as a negative moniker towards us.
Right.
What I was not going to let him do, what I will never let anybody do, is devalue you using whatever phrase they want. I'm glad that you own that, because me too. I was born on the west side of Chicago. Like I like representing my people. I do it through a mental health lens, which you and I have been talking about recently, and you do it legally. I love you for that, but I was not going to let anybody label you negatively in any sort of way. So I said, we're going to use her name. Her name is Tezlyn.
No, I appreciate that. When we need to see that, we need to see not only you do that, and I also know from a gender standpoint, there's a lot of women that need to see a black man basically check another one. I just went ahead and ordered the cape, though, as you know. I ordered the cape on Amazon.
But if y'all don't believe that's true, go follow this woman. If you don't already, follow her on IG. She literally ordered a cape and has now created the character super ghetto Tezlyn Figaro. Like, this is real. She's not kidding.
I'm not kidding. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a black lady. No, it's super ghetto. Because
she is not kidding.
I need them to know that I'm here. I'm here, saving one ghetto at a time. And see, that removes, and again, I've been going on Fox News debating guys like Brandon Tatum for over, 10, 12 years now. So I know that those are the things that they think is going to evoke emotion. I know if they say you're an angry black woman, right? You should be angry as well. I'll tell you why I'm angry. Let's go through the issues. Why? I know when they say ghetto, they've made videos of me. Oh, she's so super ghetto. Because what you cannot debate is my mind. What you cannot beat is this mouth. Yeah, I'm real good at this mouth and this mind. And I'm not talking about just from spitting facts. I'm saying I'm witty, I'm quick-witted, I'm all those things. So when you have to deal with that, I have to find something. Something has to be able to, I have to throw a punch and say something. So I recognize that. So I never, when they insult me like that on air, I don't pause to deal. I know I have 2 minutes, just like Mike Tyson had 20 seconds when he got in the ring. I got 2 minutes to say what needs to be said and get off. I don't normally come to platforms like this where I can kind of riff and can go on and on and on. I got to get in, hit, and get out. So if I stop for 60 seconds to be thrown off about what you're calling me, it takes away from the issue, and I'd rather talk about the issue.
That's right. So I want to dive into the case. Actually, no, before we even do that, and I haven't asked you this privately, how did the parents experience watching my interview with Brandon Tatum?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was there with them. We were in Atlanta. We were recording Jamal Bryant's podcast that should be dropping this week. And I protect them, Elliot. So although they were in the room, and I told you, and I was like, I'm literally here with them right now.
Facts. Yeah.
which would absolutely, if he had accepted the offer to bring me on, how powerful would that have been for him to actually have to be confronted with the actual information, which I know we'll get to that later. But I
Right.
protect them in ways, meaning I did not expose her to the things that were said. But then also, you guys weren't talking about the details.
Which was intentional.
That's it, which was absolutely intentional. So, and I need people to know this, and I'm not saying, you and I talked about this offline. Christine and Elmore, I am honored to have their permission to defend them in this way. And when people say, man, I don't know how you do it. And I don't, they've asked you the same thing. I don't know why you offer a platform. I don't know why you talk to him in that way. They appreciate knowing that I can say the things that they probably cannot. They appreciate, everybody wants somebody to go beat up the bully. Everybody. If we were to do a psychotherapist on my mind, and I take you back to the 2nd grade and the 6th grade and the 7th grade, I have stories every single year of my life. I can tell you about Kelly Rowland, Shantae Rowland, getting suspended in school. I've never had a fight for me. I've always fought for somebody else, quite literally, physically or verbally, and so people that think you just walk past the bully, that maybe if I just walk past the bully every day and keep my head down and don't say anything, eventually they'll stop. Well, you and I know that's not how it works.
No.
That's not how it works. It is required that somebody has to stand up to the bully. So when you ask, how did they feel with the interview that you did? I'm looking at a woman that's saying, Tezlyn, thank you. Thank you for defending me in ways that, although there are hundreds and thousands of people, thousands, if you will, who are making commentary about this case, they don't know her. She hasn't cried on their shoulder. She hasn't said, Tezlyn, this is what I would love to say, but I know that if I say this or that, they're going to attack me. So she is relieved, if you will, that I have said, Christine, as a mother of a 19-year-old, it's an honor. And mother first, before we talk about legal clerk and law school and all those things and mediator, as a mother first, it is my honor. So she is relieved, Elliot, that you and I and others have decided to have this conversation. And I need people to get this in the comments. We are not trying to change their mind. I don't know,
No.
People think that they think, oh, he's never going to change. Oh, no, we're well aware of that. I'm sure this psychotherapist.
Well aware.
This is about a punch. This is about teaching you. This is about you guys knowing this is what it looks like. So when Elliot's breaking down, hey, here are the things so that you can spot it. And then I get in the ring and you actually see it. The people that went to Mike Tyson fights in the 90s, I always wanted to go on when I was too young. But you remember Mike Tyson's era. Everybody knew that if you spent your money to go to Vegas and got your outfits and did all of that, you're doing it all for about 20 seconds. It was well aware that Mike Tyson was not a dance like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Ali, he was not about putting on a show. He was not about, you had got about a solid minute before he knocks you out. And people would be upset. They're like, man, I went to Vegas and I didn't get to see a good show. Well, because Mike Tyson, like we would say, everybody has a plan till they get hit in the mouth, I'm paraphrasing. His goal was to come land a punch. And so I believe in the theory of you need to see somebody fight a punch. There's so many people, Elliot, way more people that say, man, I'm so glad you said that. Man, I was sitting at home and I wanted to say that. Man, I'm just glad you said. That's why I go. That's why I go on CNN and debate Scott Jennings. That's why I've debated every last one of Brandon's heroes who he is trying to impress, from Charlie Kirk to Candace Owens, to Tommy Lauren, to Sean Hannity, to Jesse Waters, to Megyn Kelly, you name it. I've been on with them. And I've held my own, usually 2 at a time, usually 2 against 1. So I do it so people can see that, yes, Super Ghetto's here to throw a punch, to be your voice, and it lands every time. It doesn't change their mind, but it lands every time. And people that say, oh, I would never do that. Well, anybody could talk to your own audience. It's great to watch people in the comments who are saying, oh, Tez, shout out to Tez. I'm reading the comments that you guys are saying right now. And I appreciate that love. But what drives me, what gives Super Ghetto the engine and it's when I go among the enemy. It's when I go among the oppressor. It's why I'm a veteran. My mind is literally not set up, Elliot, to have a civilian mindset. And when I say that, you think about the firefighter that runs to the fire. Think about
Yes.
Brandon, who was a police officer and ran towards danger. Whether you like him or not, he signed up to be a police officer. Then I want you to think about me, that not only did I go to the military, but I was a police officer in the military with my short self. I said, no, put me in the most dangerous position possible. So my mindset is to run to those things, not away. And it's very hard for me to get people to understand that mindset. I don't duck a fight. I am encouraged by that. So that's why.
Well, this is going to be my final word on Brandon Tatum, and then I want to move on to more relevant things. But I just have to say thank you, publicly say thank you, because when the opportunity to interview Brandon Tatum came up, it was something I did not take lightly. And for the better part of a week, I struggled with, what do I do in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
My greatest fear, because I knew it's not enough just to call it a grift, we also have to expose it.
Yes.
And I wanted to say, like, here are the things he's doing psychologically. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I saw it with Charlie Kirk. I see it with Brandon Tatum. I saw it with Candace Owens. You see it with these people. It's like, I want to show you how it works. And my biggest fear was twofold. Number one, I didn't want to do anything that would upset the family, because I don't want to contribute to them being upset in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I was afraid, and I don't often use that word, but I was afraid that the audience would not understand. Like, to your point, people want to see you beat up the bully. Well, I'm telling y'all, Tezlyn's the person to beat up the bully. I'm the person to explain the bully.
Yes.
And I know people wanted me to, like, beat up the bully, but I needed everybody to see what this is psychologically, because they can't do it. Like, did you know, people out there, did you guys know, if you've ever been to a casino, it is not by coincidence that a casino has no windows and no locks. Those are not by coincidence. It's not by coincidence that the only place in our society where you can get endless free alcohol is a casino. It's not by coincidence that it is loud and stimulating visually. All of that is to get as much money out of your pockets as they can get.
Teach.
They studied you. They studied human behavior to figure out, how do I get the most money out of your pockets?
Yes.
I need you guys to understand that the people funding them have studied you.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to get you to look away while they're doing other things.
That's right.
And I've studied them.
Yeah.
And I need you to see, this is how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I decided to do it for that reason only. I need y'all to see, because once you see it, then you don't look away.
Yes.
Once you see it, then you're like, oh, they're trying to get me to look over there, so they don't see me what I'm doing over here, so I'm going to look over here. And that's why I did what I did.
Yeah.
And Tezlyn will tell you, Tezlyn and I spoke about 3 times in the 24 hours leading up to that interview. And even at that point, I was like, I'm not sure. Like, this is a tricky thing. And I knew I was putting my entire brand on the line.
Yes.
But for me, it's very important. It's very important that people see that they are playing psychological warfare. This is not, the race war is a psychological and a financial war.
And it's one thing for somebody to say that, but for you to have the information and the knowledge to be able to say, this is what that is, it hits different, Elliot. Because I know you said you're only going to say one more thing, but I do hope you get into what I do and why we work well together with this. But continue.
Yes, but exactly. But I think Tezlyn is a warrior, and Tezlyn, she's a war fighter, so she doesn't mind running towards war. In fact, which maybe I'll break her down later. She desires it.
Please break me down. See, here I go again, wanting the pain. Please break me down.
She desires it, and I think both are needed, because I'm going to make sure you're informed, and Tezlyn's going to make sure you're protected.
And there's trauma behind that. There's trauma behind that, and that's what I say. I don't mind. We can continue to have let people. And I'm gonna say this, and it brought tears to my eyes Um, because this is not about men getting me, not in a romantic way at all. Very few people get me, in particularly men. Just like get me. Put a 5 in the chat if y'all know what I mean. Like, I was like, this man gets me. This was the first time that I met somebody who I don't have relationship with, meaning, long-term relationship, that they got a chance to get to know me and have experiences that they could connect me to, and all makes sense. And even people that know me still say, well, Tezlyn, I don't know why you did da. My biggest frustration is, I am always, when you were saying we're hoping they weren't getting, my biggest frustration, and people that follow me on my Instagram know this, is I need y'all to get me. Not in the way like get me and embrace me. I need you to stop telling me shit that you're not understanding me. Like you're literally telling you're wanting me to behave like a civilian. You're wanting me to behave as if I didn't grow up around all bloods. You want me to behave that these stitches under my eye didn't come from a crib. These stitches on my arm didn't come from a blood. You're wanting me to be something that I'm not, although I look the part and have the part and check the box and have the degree and do all these things. You are literally asking me to go against my core fundamental belief. And you are the first person, which no surprise why you do what you do, who said, Tezlyn, I get you. I understand why you do what you do. And when you called me a pit bull the other day, and you said, Tezlyn, you are a pit bull. When it's time to fight, you're like a pit bull. You had no clue. And I know you didn't, because the song's not published. When I ran for office in 2012, 14 years ago, I had a track called Political Pit Bull. And in the beginning of it, I said, my mama said, I'm like a pit bull. I bite down, lock down, and I don't give up. My mother would always say, you're just like a pit bull. She was so sweet. My mother, by the way, was totally opposite of my personality. And she like, you just go on and on. You're just like a pit bull. You just bite down, and so you brought me confirmation and healing, because both of my parents are deceased. And because my mother's personality is so different than mine, I've been at this journey alone. There hasn't been a lot of people that say, go get them. We get it. We understand. Go fight them. Most people, especially that love me, would say, get out of harm's way. Don't go do that. Why would you do that? Don't say that. So I get more of that than I get people of understanding who I am. When I was on Netflix, Elliot, and I said I'm willing to die for the cause, I meant that.
Right.
I meant that. Not that I want to die for the cause. Not that I don't want to be here to raise my child. But the level of these are not just talking points to me. And my life proves it. And so when you got me and understood, where for the first time I didn't have to explain, no, this is why this is going against my fundamental values and beliefs. I'm triggered by these things for a reason, if you will. We could go through and talk about why. I appreciated you, Ellie, in that moment, because you were able to bring confirmation and healing through my mother. I have to get signs like that because she's not here. So I had to get signs like that to say, keep doing what you're doing. I had to get signs like that to be able to say, okay, I hear you. I see you. I'm protecting you. I know you're risking it all. I have to get those signs, and so you brought that to me that day, and I'm eternally grateful. And I sent you that clip. I said, did you know I have a song called People?
I was like, no.
Yeah, I had no clue. And let me tell y'all this about words. This is why I always say, you use your words with me. Don't worry about gender and all of that. I get it. It's important. But if you had said pit bull, a lot of women in the what do you mean pit bull? What you trying to say? She's a bitch. What you trying to say? She's a dog. What you trying to say? This is why I say I let people use words with me, because you're right. I am a pit bull. I'm on your ass. I'm on your ass. And so the same thing with Super Ghetto. I don't let those words, which somebody may find as a negative, be a negative for me, because more than likely you're right. I've answered to much worse. So I just think that that's important, with that framing and that phrase, where a lot of women who tell, oh, he's saying this, oh, she's saying that, oh, they afraid of black women. Everything's not a gender. Sometimes it's just Brandon doesn't want to debate me, not because I'm a strong black woman, not because he don't like black women, which may be the case. Brandon doesn't want to debate me because I have a joker card to draw for literally everything he says. And I would love to get into that. That's your show, but I definitely want to get into that on why he doesn't want to debate me. And it's not just because he thinks he's afraid of black women. No, it's much deeper than that.
It's much deeper than that. But it's, it's just cool to see somebody that like represents their blackness and is proud of this ghetto label. I travel a lot further. I travel all over the world teaching people psychotherapy. And when I'm in America and I travel to a new city, right, no matter where it is, Chicago, Washington, D.C., one of the first things I do, I've not said this publicly, but it's true. One of the first things I do, well, less now because I'm being healthier as a human to take care of myself, but I would always find MLK Boulevard in whatever city I was going to be in,
Oh my God.
and find local food spots on MLK
Can I
Boulevard.
pause? I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
said
yeah.
you're from Chicago, and I didn't know that. So I lived in Chicago. You may not have
Oh,
known
yeah.
that. I lived in Chicago
No.
briefly. And the first thing I did, I lived in Presidential Towers downtown. I'm going to pause and just say that. But again, confirmation. The first thing I did, because I never lived in Chicago, never went to Chicago. I went there with Robert Half, was working as a branch manager, staffing firm. First thing I did was put in Martin Luther King Boulevard.
That's right.
And at that time, the Soul Cafe, Poetry Cafe. That's how you know I'm telling you it was on MR. Because I said, just take me, because wherever MLK is, that's where I find my people.
That's absolutely right. That's where I find my people.
Yep.
And that's where I find good food.
Yep.
So like, I run to my people.
Yes.
And it's important that we all recognize that. So everybody in the chat, let me tell you why it was important to have Tezlyn, because we need to get into the facts of this case to the degree, Tezlyn, that you can share. We need to get into the facts of this case. But the other reason, I want everybody to show love to Tezlyn, and here's why. The war fighter, she's willing to go to Fox News and lock horns with Scott Jennings and Charlie Kirk and Brandon Tatum, et cetera, et cetera. We need her to know she's got a home here, because the war fighter needs both. I need a base. I need a place where I know, like, these are the people that will rejuvenate. When I come back bruised, battered, and scarred, these are the people that will heal me so I can go fight the next battle. And I hope Tezlyn will experience me and my platform. Like, when you are bruised, battled, and wounded, this is where you come. And we will make sure that you get love and heal and warmth, because I know tomorrow you got to go fight another battle. So everybody, like, that's why I wanted to have Tezlyn here, because this is where you come to get rejuvenated emotionally, so that tomorrow you got to go fight another battle. You got.
Can you break me down quickly? And this was, I want people to know. Somebody in the comments said, "Oh man, we love you, Tezlyn, but let Elliot talk." Tell them why I am talking over you somewhat, or excited about talking, because I know the reason, but I want you to tell them on why I feel the need to get so many words out at once. Tell the people mentally where I am, because there's a reason behind that they probably don't understand. And it ties directly into being at a place where I can finally get it off when you're beat up everywhere else. Let them know why I overtalk you, why I literally can't help it sometimes, because I got to get my words.
Well, I don't know, because we've never talked about it, but I will say my analysis of it.
Yes.
I don't know that Tezlyn has a home, actually. I think she spends so much time on all these other platforms. But, like, you guys have to understand psychologically what this does to someone like Tezlyn, right? So let me explain this. Tezlyn will go on a very large platform that does not belong to her. And she will go with the intention to advocate for whatever person she's advocating for. In this current season, that person is Nolan Wells and the family. And she will go with all these talking points, all this information in her head, that there's a rage in her to download that information.
Yes.
So she will go on these platforms to download that information, and they will do two things that are damaging to Tezlyn, and neither of those two things are going to happen here today. The first thing they'll do is they will cut her off. They will say, "Tezlyn, sorry, we're out of time." And Tezlyn will be like, "But I know you're doing that because I'm going down a path you don't want me to go to, so now you're just, like, throwing to commercial break," which we've seen Fox News commentators do very, very frequently. The other thing they will do that literally causes psychological harm to people like Tezlyn is Tezlyn will make amazingly wonderful points. She will get everything out of her brain she needs to get out. And then when she sees the clip later, they edited it all out.
Yes, they did.
So what you guys are seeing is not Tezlyn talking over me. You're seeing Tezlyn download with excitement because she does not fear being cut off, and she does not fear being edited out. Does that make sense, Tezlyn? Did I do okay?
Makes absolute sense. Man, again, you get me You get me? It's
So
not that
yes.
I just and to your point, if you go back and we can show the data with this. If you look at the um alleged debate that I had with Brandon Tatum and the host, and it was 2 against 1, both of them cut me off. I had to literally say, no, 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 I'm gonna finish my statement. You know, it's almost every time I'm on. When I did Nancy Grace and I talked about Brandon Tatum, she edited it out, which is why I typically don't only do live shows, but it was so important that somebody went on behalf of the family to Nancy Grace. She edited it out and said, we're not going to talk about Brandon Tatum all day. But yet when Brandon Tatum gets up every time on Nancy Grace to talk about Attorney Crump and talk about the family, they never edit that out. In fact, Brandon Tatum is in the intro of the show whenever they're talking about Nolan Wells. He has been prominently featured as in the one of the clips that they show over and over. So I wanted people to know that, Elliot, not just because of them, but I'm going to use this clip many, many times on why I am the way I am, and you're the only one that can point to that with credibility that people understand. I got a lot of criticism with that on the Breakfast Club. Man, you just overtalk. You get your words out fast. Somebody in the comments said it's because of their ADHD. Right? It's because of what I do though, and the trauma of needing to get information out and only having a certain amount of time to get it, and knowing. And also, guys, I know that if I die today or tomorrow, I do want y'all to understand what it means to have death threats, because although we haven't lost our leaders and people haven't been assassinated on our side, what happened to Charlie Kirk was a real thing. It was a real
thing.
So I also speak with the level of urgency that this may be my very last time. That's how I walk through the world. So where everybody else feels like I can just go live and I got access to go live and I'll always have these opportunities to speak and I'll always be able to say, I speak with intention of this may be the last time. And I know people don't get that and understand that. So that's why you're so helpful. Breakfast Club's like, oh man, you talk over the interviews. You talk, you don't let them get in. And I was like, that format doesn't work for me. It doesn't work with me, Charlamagne, and Envy interviewing somebody at the same time. It doesn't work. I need a head up one-on-one. I don't even really like panels for real. I need a one-on-one because I just don't do interviews all the time. So when I do, I need it, and it's good to be home. So thank you to the person that said that. They didn't mean any harm. They were like, oh, we love you. Let Elliot talk. But I wanted you to explain to them why I can't shut up in moments like this.
And I don't want you to shut up, actually. I don't want you to shut up. I would have sent you a text message. Hey, this is a co-conversation. I did not, because I genuinely mean it. She is our war fighter. Ben Crump is our war fighter. They have to have a place to know, like when I go there, they're going to serve me a meal, give me a hug, and let me rest. Because tomorrow, they got to fight another war. And everybody needs to understand, Tezlyn just said something like kind of quickly, but I want to highlight it. These death threats are real. Y'all want to see my DMs? Like, right. These racist people don't like this conversation. They don't like that I want to clinically expose their grift. They don't like that I want to take care of our warfighters and make them feel at home. These death threats are real. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I don't even like using that word, but because he wasn't a politician. When Charlie Kirk was murdered, shortly after that, I went to an event where there were several prominent Black people. And the first thing I noticed when I arrived at that event was A, noticeable, visible security where there hadn't been before. And B, some of these prominent Black people were wearing bulletproof vests. So when she says something like, I talk as if this might be my last time talking, there are people that would really wish to do people like her, Benjamin Crump, myself, harm.
Yep.
Because they really want her to shut up.
Right.
So as much as Tezlyn talks, I am not going to tell her to shut up. This is actually her place to get her shit off. This is her place to download, because I know that there are places in this world that want her to be quiet, so much so that they cut her off on their platforms. They edit her out of their platforms. And there are some sickos violently that would like her to be quiet permanently. And that's just not going to happen. It's just not. Like, we're going to protect these people because we need them. If you were in a situation where a loved one of yours had gone missing and the mysterious circumstances around it, which we're about to get into, you want a pit bull. You want somebody that's never going to sleep. I obsess. I guarantee you, if I opened up Tezlyn's brain, 96% of it is Nolan Wells in the past 6 weeks.
Yes.
She wakes up in the middle of the night with a thought. She's text messaging Benjamin Crump. with a thought. She's got a random idea. I guarantee you she's answering calls from the parents in the middle of the night. Like, that's who I want in my corner. Um, who has those skills. So this is why these conversations are so important. And it's why I want Tezlyn to feel like I can go on Ellie's platform and I can say whatever I need to say and get it all off. Elliot's audience appreciates me and values me. And the safe space it is, because look, warfighters get battle wounds
Yes.
and emotional battle wounds.
Yes.
And they need to realize, and also sometimes they need to be reminded who they're fighting for.
Yes.
They need to be reminded, like, these are the people that I'm the voice of. So can we get into the case?
Yes.
There is a lot. I don't think I've ever seen a case where so many social media personalities are covering it. Obviously, there are lots of things that, I mean, everything you talk about on social media, but this is like so many personalities are covering this situation. And I think there's a lot of information, there's a lot of inaccurate information, and there's a lot of information that people without a legal background, like such as yourself, they don't know how to digest that information. So if you could take us back to the beginning, the first post I made about this is I just heard a story of a young man missing. And I heard some of the circumstances around it, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a young man missing in southern Mississippi. Let's all pay attention. And then it has gotten more tragic and more tragic and more tragic. I want to start by asking you from the beginning, what should people know that maybe they don't know, or maybe they're not attending to, from the beginning of this story, and walk us through.
Okay. And I know you asked me a direct question, and I do want to put some framing out here because the lens is important, so people can know what lens I'm looking through. I've been working with Attorney Crump on pretty much every high-profile case since Trayvon Martin, 2012 on. Every high-profile case. I worked with him in a media capacity as crisis comm. I own a crisis comm firm, the Crisis Communication. I also I've been a Florida Supreme Court mediator, civil circuit, and appellate since 2008. So a lot of times when I'm working with him and families in particular, I'm doing a lot of conflict resolution that goes on behind the scenes that people don't have a clue. I also have a media background as well. Obviously, that's where most people know me from, the media and those types of things. So I also know how I don't only just can write the press release and get the talking points, but I also can go deliver it as well. That's important to have that framing. I'm in law school, so I clerked. And for those who don't know, clerk is not an administrative assistant. It's not even a paralegal. It is literally, because people don't know, they hear the word clerk and they're like, oh, clerk, no, for those who, and I don't mean, I'm not trying to minimize anything. I just want people to understand, shout out to my paralegals, but I do need you to understand what a law clerk is. Your paralegal is, do a lot of administrative work and, filing motions and things like that. And then a law clerk is somebody that actually is a junior associate attorney, if you will. That is the spot that you take before you go to the actual firm to do the research, to do the analysis, to write the memos, to do, all of those things. I law clerked this summer. And many people are like, why would you be law clerking with Attorney Crump? I'm his senior public policy advisor, guys. So I'm literally in the Netflix documentary as his advisor. So a lot of people, Ellie said, why did you go clerk? They looked at it as a step down, not understanding that, no, in the legal world, you need to still clerk because you need to be able to work under other attorneys and actually do the legal side. So I was on the other side of the desk, not just with Nolan Wells, but Carmelo Anthony. Both of those cases. So for those of you that don't know, he's also the lead attorney on the Carmelo Anthony matter. Even though we have 5 front-facing attorneys, the dream team that you guys see, it's actually Attorney Crump that is the lead. So when you mentioned talk to families through the night, I talked to Andrew Anthony, Carmelo's dad. When I say 6, 7 times a day, I'm not exaggerating. 6, 7, 10 times a day, like literally just to keep him from going online and making a comment, he'll call me, get it off of me. I'm his safe place. I said all of that because the context of what I'm speaking about on this case is not coming from just watching videos or content or information. It is
Correct.
literally, as much as I can say without jeopardizing any attorney-client privilege, as much as I can say to still defend the family, which I know she wants me to do, and Attorney Crump, by the way, but with having those things in my mind, because that's very important.
Correct.
It's another point I want to poke on when you said everybody started talking about this, and let's talk about why. My favorite case that I watched literally at night, and just know backwards and forwards is O.J. Simpson. We're not going to talk about that today, but I know that case backwards. I grew up watching that case. I grew up watching Nancy Grace. I grew up like, okay, oh, that's the thing. I could be a lawyer and have an opinion and be on TV. You know, my mother worked at a TV station, but I knew journalism wasn't for me. But when I saw CNN and Court TV, I said, oh, that makes sense. Anyway, the reason why people are so this Nolan Wells has all of the things that produces good content. You have a mystery. What happened? You know, you have race involved, and I'm using OJ because it had not the same, but same, you know, race. You had a mystery. What happened? You have a class conversation, because we're not talking about a group of friends, if you will, alleged friends, so-called friends who are poor or who come from, you know, a certain side. You can't just write them off as these are affluential individuals involved, even to the point of talking about Nolan Wells' parents, you know, and her being a nurse and her being in medicine, all those things. So you have a class conversation that's going on here. You have a possible, if this young lady was involved, if she was or if she wasn't. Now we're talking about interracial dating or not, or, you know, I'm going about people in the comment. Was he dating her? Was he not? Were they jealous of him with Katie? Were they afraid of black men being with white woman? You know, all of those things that we know historically that I know you can break down on how those things are triggering. You have the conversation of, well, why was he with white folks anyway? And you thought you were on one side and did the other. So this case has all of the things that produces great content. It just does. And some people are following it from a truly investigative journalist. You know, I want to follow it. There's people who are following the case from your lens that are saying, let me tell you what you guys are seeing psychologically, what is very much needed. And then there's some people who are just rage baiting and they want the clicks. And then you have people like me that haven't made any videos about it, that haven't went and posted anything online, that's desperately saying, okay, how do I insert the things that I know people need to know? And how do you not confuse me with somebody else that's rage clickbaiting? Does that make sense?
Yes. So I'm glad you provided that lens and that context.
Yes. So to answer your question, because that context was important when you said, what is it that we need to know? I gave you those things, guys, because there's many commentators that they brought on, even attorneys, that they ask that same question and they'll say, oh, these are the things you need to know. But they're not coming from that lens, which is very different. And they may be right on the things you need to know. What I want to talk about and what you need to know is not just from this case and the details of this case, because what you need to know, we will get to the truth of the matter. But what I need people to know is that this case is the thing that has wakened, that's woke Black America up in ways that we did not see with George Floyd. So I was a senior advisor to the family with the George Floyd matter. George Floyd, we saw what we saw on camera. It's undisputed. You know, it was only an argument between how long was you on his neck, and they tried to flip it and say it was fentanyl, whatever. But it was very clear. It was very clear. It was in 2020. Content creating was not incentivized at that time. It had kind of just started. That's when Black Effect started, by the way, in 2020. So you had people who were on Facebook and who were online and who were doing this content. But 2020, when everybody was sitting at home with COVID, that's when content creating really became incentivized, and it became a money thing for a lot of people. So this is the first case that has been in the content creative space that has got the attention, that had all of the things, that has gotten the attention of Black America in ways that we did not see with George Floyd. And it's allowed media an opportunity, the new media, now that there is no more Joy Reid on MSNBC, whether you like her or not, I'm just pointing out facts. There is no more Don Lemon on CNN. Now they're out here on YouTube, just like you're on YouTube. Now everybody, it's an equal playing field of information. And so what I want people to know about this case is although it appears to be an equal playing field of information, because anybody can go live at any time, anybody can go on YouTube anytime. What I want you to know, it is not an equal playing field of information. When you are listening to Elliot talk about the mental behind this, you need to know that he is a licensed professional and actually knows what he's talking about. It's not to say he's better than anybody else. It's to say you have more tools in your toolbox that can be helpful. So I want people to know, and I know people will probably expect me to say, oh, you need to know he left his house at this time or that time. No, what I want people to know about this case is I need you to tap into those who are that have a different toolbox so that you can be as informed as possible on this case. And not just about this case, but informed in your everyday decision making, which is why what you do is so important. In your everyday decision making and how you're moving throughout the world. My daughter, who's 19, and I never post her photos, and I don't even say her name because I'm just that protective of her. I tell her all the time. She's texting me now, telling me what's going on with her day. I tell her all the time, tell me where you're going. Tell me who you're with. I'm constantly following the locator. I'm constantly looking at, where you are, what are you doing, all these things. When Nolan Wells happened, it became real to her. Oh, this is why my mom says the things that she says. This is why she wants to know wherever you're going, give me the number of the friend. She doesn't push back. She gives me those things. But I'm able now to point to her, this is what I'm talking about. This is how it matters who you're around. And I'm not accusing young men, if you will, grown men, if you will, of doing anything. What I'm saying is it matters where you go, who you're around, who knows where you are, who has your phone, if the locator is on, if you're in a place where service is bad. This is a true story, guys. My daughter, she no longer goes to PV. She transferred schools. But last year at homecoming at Prairie View, she said, Mom, they told me, because I've trained her like this, and I need y'all to train y'all kids like this. She said, Mom, they said that the service is real bad during homecoming because there's so many people on campus and, we can't get through. I said, okay, I got a remedy for that. She's at a new school. She doesn't know these kids. These are kids she's getting to know. Elliot, had her best friend. I bought a hotel for them for the week so that her best friend from high school could be there on campus with Jada. I wanted to make sure that she had a place that I know I could reach her that was outside of the cellular issues that they were having. I also wanted to know that she had somebody with her that I know has her back. Because although these other kids were alleged so-called friends, it made me nervous to know that she can't reach me or reach her dad with no cell phone. So if there's something that I want people to know about this case, it is know the things that Elliot is pointing out to you. Know how the media plays games. Know the mental behind it. Know the war that we're fighting with white supremacy. Understand the class conversations associated with this. Understand how you can't just listen to everybody's podcast. You have to use, some can be great for entertainment and some are needed, by the way. People who stoke the flames, I think they're needed in the war as well. But also make the difference between those who are giving you the information versus those who are just talking. And that's critically important. I'm happy to answer anything specific that you want to know, but that's what I've been going around telling people. I want people to know how important the work you're doing and this new media ecosystem that we've created that I've been telling Ben was a gap for years. I've told him for years. I was like, Ben, by the time you put stuff on, by the time you guys send out a press release, people like Elliot has already made 10 videos about it. This is our new press. So if we're not building a relationship with you where I can say, hey, we're going to be in trial this week with Carmelo Anthony, the 19th and the 20th, by the way, motion for recuse and a motion for a new trial. If I'm not giving you that heads up and saying, hey, Elliot, because you're going to have that information up like that. So I want people to know that this is where we are now. We have to operate differently. And that's something that Attorney Crump has had to learn because he hasn't had to kind of really, the content creating space hasn't been, what is this? So
Right.
That's what I want people to know.
Well, I would like to ask you some specific questions. I'll be careful in how I ask them. And if I ask you something you can't or don't want to answer, you my girl, I'm good. Don't feel any pressure from me.
Sure.
I think the number one thing people want to know, other than like the nosy details, like tell us about that phone. Did y'all find it? Like, there's nosy details, and I'm promising y'all she can't answer those. Um, the truth seems to be elusive to us. What happened to Nolan? It there seems to be like a machine trying to hide certain things from the general public as to like what happened to Nolan. The number one thing I think, at least for me, that I want to know is how how much progress do you see being made towards getting to the truth? Because with the frustrating part for the audience, for just I'm not a lawyer, I'm not involved legally, et cetera, neither is anybody in the comments. It's like we don't have the autopsy report. We hear all these details, and then we see these interviews where these young men are denying these. So it's like, but I know, like Benjamin Crump's not going to tweet, "Found this today, can't wait."
Right.
Like, so
Right.
like how much progress is being actually made towards moving towards the truth?
Yes. And I will answer. I'm glad you brought up the phone. So this week, we had to remind folks again that the phone that's going through the phone, they asked, hey, just turn over Nolan's phone. And the legal team said, no, we want to go over the phone at the same time that you guys go over the phone. Why would
Tell
we?
them why. Tell them why. Why is that?
A lack of trust. A lack of trust. It is protecting your client. It is protecting the evidence. Ben Crump makes no mistake about having a distrust for the systems that we operate within. So when people say, "Oh, he's not a criminal attorney," I don't. Let me first clear this up for everybody. Going to law school makes me an attorney in whatever I want to be in. Let's just first clear that up. When you hear an attorney say, I'm a criminal lawyer or I'm a civil lawyer, it means that's, what they kind of focus on, and they're hyper focused on that. But I do want everybody to know, and I'm not saying that being funny, because I just really think people just, a lot of time, LA just don't know. When you go sit for the bar, they test us in everything across the board. So there's no, I just only know this and I just only know that. And by the way, Ben Crump actually did practice criminal law at the beginning of his career. See, those are the things, Elliot, that why, again, going back to, and I'm using Tatum as just a placeholder here, not as he important. That is why people like a Brandon doesn't want to debate me, because I can point those things out that the general public just may not know, because Ben doesn't talk about those things. He just doesn't. That's why in the documentary I said, he's Martin, I'm Malcolm. I'm going to tell you how it really is. That's what I said in the documentary. So a lot of attorneys really can't stand the way Attorney Crump does things. I'm be honest. And I don't agree with everything either, because he does put it all out. He does say, put it all out. So legal people say, you're messing it up. You're putting it all out. You're having the public untangle it, and it's getting messy, and it's rage baiting, and it's all those things. That's because he does not have a trust for the system, and he wants people to see in real time that if it is not justice, you know why. And that includes him taking an enormous amount of criticism on the way he talks, on the way he presents, on the way, why do they keep calling him, which we can get to that. Why do they call Attorney Crump? Why won't other attorneys say something? Why are there not other attorneys? And I hope we touch on that. But all those things. So when you say is progress being made, yes, it is. But we are still beholden to the state. The state is the one that decides who's going to be in the grand jury, who gets to decide, if there's going to be a charge. The state. So when people say, oh, well, Ben Crump, we need a criminal attorney. A criminal attorney still can't file criminal charges. Only the state, only the district attorney. And a lot of these people who criticize him also say we shouldn't vote. Well, do you want us to vote or not vote? The DA is elected. The governor is elected. The medical examiner is appointed by somebody who's elected. The state commissioners, the city council, elected. The judges, elected or appointed. All of these positions, all of them are connected to the political process in the justice system that we know has not been favorable to Black people. So when Attorney Crump says, hey guys, I want y'all to watch over here, it is not because all of a sudden he's thinking he's getting ready to change the justice system, although I can argue with you on some things that have been changed since 2012, since he's been in the mix. But it's not that he's saying, Oh no, guys! All of a sudden, we trust the FBI. All of a sudden, we trust them. You know, people really be in the comments thinking, "Hey, no, Ben, you can't do this or that, or you can't. You should have did this first, and you should have did that." No, it is strategically put out to the public for a reason. For example, the autopsy. When the independent autopsy results were released first, I remember somebody, because you know y'all love all of a sudden being experts. They should have let them put theirs out first. No, break it down, Elliot, from a psychological standpoint. If we told you the throat was missing first, our narrative is out there first. You know, whether you're an expert or not, there's something that doesn't make sense. If they put their autopsy out and said, this is what happened with the throat, or we don't want to share what the throat is because of XYZ, and then we came back on the back end, then they could say, oh, well, you just said that because they said that. So
that's right.
Us getting the information out to you is not because he's slow. It's not because he doesn't get it. It's not because it's not any of those things. He is walking a very fine line between how do we educate the public on what's happening without blowing up the case, and then how do we get people involved but still allowing understanding the process. So I don't expect a DA who, let's say they were doing the right thing. Let's not use this case. Let's say another case. Let's say let's use Keith Ellison for an example, who was the state attorney on the Derek Chauvin case. There was plenty of information that he could have said and did, but he did not, because he actually wanted the case to go to trial. And once you corrupt and involve yourself in evidence and say certain things, that's something called being able to not have stuff be admissible. Right now, real example, the Carmelo Anthony case, the motion to recuse. And these are things, guys, you can go look at standforcarmelo.com and look at the filings. Look at what the legal team, very proud of being part of the team, by the way, because I was clerking on that case. The legal team, one of the reasons why we're asking for Judge Roach to be removed from the case is because of what he said in the media. It's why I text you when and this is where the commentary, where I love the commentary, but then if I got access to the commentator, this is why I try to build relationship, because when you and my brother Willie D were talking about, and I said the same thing on the Don Lemon show, when he said, you know, it's bad PR for them to keep talking. You know, why do these young men keep talking? Why do these men keep talking? Valid point. But I also said, Elliot, actually, keep them talking. We actually want them to keep talking. Where you guys are having overall arching conversations about PR, and Don Lemon kept going over and over and kept saying, Don, stop giving him PR advice. Because the reason why, put a 5 in the chat if y'all understand, if you're following me. We are fighting for Judge Roach tomorrow to be recused because he could not stop talking on this damn thing. See, this YouTube thing is real intoxicating, Elliot. And when he went and started saying why he did what he did with choosing who got to stay in the courtroom and who did not, when he said he basically rushed through the case, I'm paraphrasing, if you will, because he needed to do what was best for the community because there was so much noise around the Carmelo Anthony case. We have a judge said on record, said these things. This goes into why we're doing a motion to recuse. This is why us working together, various people working together, we can really turn this on its head. And I'm giving y'all inside ball game, but I want you guys to know these are how these things work together to win the war. I'll give this one example, and I'm going to have you ask me the next question. I give this example on when you're winning a war, because you've said warrior several times. You've mentioned war. I give this example with the military, whether you agree with it or not. The Air Force is in the air. Their job is to drop bombs. We have a target on who we want to hit, but it could hit anybody. It could hit a stray. In this social justice thing, I look at your job, Elliot, as the Air Force, literally in the air, the media. You have a targeted focus. Like you said, this is our home, but there's still trolls here. There's still other people that will hear this. There's still clips. So your job is the Air Force to put the information out and drop it, if you will. When we drop MREs to people, when they're in battle and we're dropping MREs, guys, that's the food that they drop to the soldiers. They drop it and you run and you go get it. Your job is to drop the MRE. Whoever picks it up, take the meat from the bones, like it, don't like it, complain about it, do whatever. That's your job. The Navy is the water surrounding where the battle is fought. It's still a battle in the sea, in the ocean, if will, whatever you want to call it. It's still a battle there. But the Navy protects the ground. They're protecting the Marines and the Army who are actually on the ground. The Navy I look at as allies. These are people that we say XYZ organization. And I don't want to say names because then they get into, oh, I don't like that organization. But these are where organizations come into play. These are where if you have people of color or white allies, pay attention, guys. Somebody type allies because I do want you to know the difference between allies and accomplices. Very, very different. Allies who say, you know, I'm going to protect this thing. I know it's a battle we're fighting for. I look at that as the Navy. But then you have the ground where the battle is actually fought. I'm an organizer before I'm anything else because I believe in the ground. And this is where Army people, they always think they can give me, oh, you were in the Air Force. Yeah, but I was a security police officer. I was actually under Army regulations, not the Air Force. Don't get it twisted. I was actually infantry, which is very different than the Air Force. And usually when an Army person says, I say, well, what's your job in the Army? Oh, supply, food? Okay, go fix my sandwich and shut your ass up. I actually was in the infantry. So I did ground combat. Let's not get it twisted. The Air Force actually does have ground combat, guys, in case you guys didn't know that. Go Google it and see. Security forces was my job. The ground is so critical on who's fighting the battle, which is why I keep wanting you to do a public analysis. Break me down so they can understand me.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
The ground is critically important. And that's why you have the Army and you have what with the Marines? A few good men. A few good men. The Marines pride themselves on being the only one that can do what they do. So in this battle, this war that you're speaking of, we all have a role to play. I'm a Marine. I'm on the ground, not just what the Army does, but willing to get face to face with opposition. So when y'all say, oh, good child, it couldn't be me, because it ain't you. You're not built like this. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you.
By the way, most aren't. I'm not built this way. I'm built like this to do this. Like when she says that, that's her like just owning her place in this space. Like a lot of people say, you ain't built like this. It's almost like an insult. It's like, no. What she's saying is some people are Air Force. Yes. Some people are Navy. And some people are Army Marines. And you got to be built different. Like when she talks about running to the fire, I get goosebumps when I think about this. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life, and I need everybody to understand why this mentality is so important. One of the most incredible things I ever saw in my life was in an amazing documentary about what happened in New York City on 9/11. So some people don't know this, but firemen wear a device on their clothing that beeps when they stop moving. Yes. Okay. So there was a fire department that went to the towers. And then about a half an hour later, all of them started beeping. Do you know what the next fire truck did? Went to the towers.
Yes.
And they knew they were never coming back.
Yes.
And someone asked them, why are you going? And this guy turned to the cameraman. And there's a lot of documentaries about what happened on 9/11, but the best one of the guys had a sibling that was a filmmaker. So there's a fireman who had a sibling that was a filmmaker. The morning of 9/11, there was a gas leak somewhere in New York City coming out of one of the sewers. So they went on this call. He says to his brother, he's making a film about his brother. He says, you want to come on this call? It's kind of nothing. He's like, yeah, I'll practice using my camera. They go to this call about this gas leak coming out of the sewer. He's pointing his camera at the sewer, and you hear somebody say, wow, that plane is flying really low. And then the camera pans up, and he actually caught the first plane hitting the tower. And then he is capturing the whole day. So when the second truck is going, he says to one of the firemen said, like, everybody, come on, let's pack up. And they're all getting ready to get in this truck. And one of them says, y'all know we ain't coming back, but we got to do a good job. And the guy goes, why are you going if you know you're coming back? And he turned to the camera, and as if it was a logical answer, he said, because there's a fire there.
Right.
Okay, so when she says, y'all ain't built like this, I'm telling you right now, I'm not running to that fire. I'll do therapy with every single one of those men and women, when they do survive, and I'll do therapy with every single one of those family members who lost somebody from now until eternity. And you know what? Tesla ain't built like that. But Tesla is the kind of person that would look you right in the eyes and say, because there's a fire there. So that's why when she says y'all ain't built like that, it's not a criticism of us. It's just an acknowledgement that like we're not all built the same.
That's it.
But anyway, continue.
And
So I wanted to make that point.
yes, and you're so needed. Everybody's needed. You cannot win a war with just the air. The reason why I do that analogy is because you can't win a war with just the Air Force. You can't win a war with just the Army. Win a war with just the Marines and just the Navy and without the Coast Guard and the National Guard and all of those things. Everybody's needed, even in the comments. That's why I always tell you, I put a 5 in the chat. I'm a bootleg preacher, so I like call and response. So that's my way to do call and response. I want you to know in the chat you're needed. Like you are absolutely needed. I call people the comment caucus. I say, if you do nothing else, just at least get in the chat. If you're not the one that say, let me run towards the fire, well, can you at least do a thumbs up so we can elevate this? Because we're competing also with the latest gossip. No disrespect, but these messages are hard to get out. So when you click like and you sit here and you listen and you, man, I'm one of the few, when I say peers, I mean that actually go on national cable news. And I'm not saying that in a way to be better or bigger or anything like that. But it's probably only about 30 or 40 of us last time I checked that actually had a contract as a commentator, as I did on Black News Channel. And when I can name them who actually had a contract on Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC. I'm one of the only ones, at least now. Now they get involved. Don Lemon and Joy Reid and all them. I'm not saying they were not getting involved before, but I've always went live to talk to you guys, like interact in the beat where people say, I can't believe you be wasting your time. No, I need the energy. I need, to your point, when I come off the battlefield, I need the nurse who's critically important in the military to patch me up. That's one reason why whenever I go out of town, the first place I go is to the hood, because I get revitalized. When I went to the CBC, okay, it's great to be at the CBC, but I called my homeboy, in case y'all, the Congressional Black Caucus, every year when they get together, I called him. I said, baby, you got to get me to the hood. I've had enough. I got to get rejected. So he took me to Melba's place in Baltimore. I knew it was the place because you had to ring a doorbell, and we passed about 15 doors that were boarded up. It's like, okay, that's the place for me, because I have to go. That's my fuel. So you guys are needed in this battle. All I ask, and it's not for everybody, because Gideon's army had 300, never 10,000. All I ask is that you understand why Elliot does what he do, what I do, and then this is how we win the war. It's why conservatives, and by the way, I'm an independent, but it is why conservatives are the minority in this country, but appear to be winning the war. You know why? Because they understand how to fight. Colonizers, and they don't understand nothing else. They know how to go in, take over, and fight, even if the group is bigger than them. You know why? Because they are rabid about this shit. They are rabid about it. If you look at every AM station, talk radio station, all conservative. These people on the way to work, Elliot, listen to talk radio, feeding them information. Then they go in the job and listen to the podcast. Even though we're on Black Effect Podcast Network, only 60% of Black people listen to podcasts. When I go live, I turn my camera off and people say, I can't see you, I can't see you. No, listen, be audio learner. Be an audio learner. Stop needing to see shit all the time. They listen to this in their mind throughout the day while they're working. Then they go home and watch Fox News and get the visual. Then they watch the YouTube, the this to that. They have they've created an echo, and then they're in the comments. Oh man, go look at the comments when I interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy on the Breakfast Club. We have more comments than they had with Joe Biden on the Say You Ain't Black, and that went way viral. My stuff didn't even go viral, but them conservatives came so heavy, Elliot. The trolls that they pay, the bots.
I want you guys to understand also the kind of psychological war they play.
Yes.
My inbox is currently getting spammed. Somebody went and signed my public email address up for a bunch of newsletters and a bunch of bullshit from all these other companies, and they put my name as Chimp. So my inbox is filled with, hey, Chimp, don't forget that this is the last weekend to buy the such and such. Like, they're literally playing psychological war because they think that's going to, and their fragility makes them think that we are also fragile. They think that that's going to impact me, and it doesn't. I'm only using this as an example to say, this is what they're doing to try to impact the warfighters.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're doing to try to impact the advocates. They want me to look at that and be like, oh my God, this is so hard and so scary. I can't keep doing this.
Right.
They don't realize you just put a battery in my back. Like, that's not, you're going to get the absolute opposite response that you're going to get. But y'all's inbox don't look like mine in Tezlyn's. Y'all comment sections don't look like mine in Tezlyn's.
Right.
Your DMs don't look like mine in Tezlyn's. And it's an honor for us to wear that badge for you. Like, we want to take that on so that you don't have to. But a part of me wants to make sure you know that it's happening.
Yep.
Because these people, they do it in silence and they do it in private because they don't want you to know that they're this dirty and this vile. So that they don't use their names. They don't use their own profiles. They do this to impact us, and we want y'all to know there's a lot of bullets we take so y'all don't have to.
That's right.
And there's a lot of bullets we take to make sure that you guys have an advocate.
Yep. Brandon said to you when you asked him about interviewing me, he said, I have nothing to gain with interviewing with her, but you have everything to lose. You have everything to lose.
Right.
Because your conversation with him was critically important. But I noticed he's got on with a couple of my brothers about, he wants to keep the conversation on the overarching issues about race. I know why you did it. You went to decode the mind. But everybody, he wants to get on and talk about, well, let's just talk about race. Let's just talk about Democrat and Republican. Let's just talk about, come talk about, I've never cussed you, never been disrespectful. Let's talk about the actual facts. Because guys, this is why I came here to make this point. Brandon knows it's not about me just being a super ghetto woman or, he's just afraid of black women. Or, all those things may be true. He's afraid of the information, guys. Because if he says, I talk to the boys, I can say, I talk to the mama. If he say, I talk to the attorneys, I can say, not only if I talk to attorneys, it's a clerk on the case. If he say, well, you just don't like police officers when you try to play that mental game, with you the other day, I can say, I was a police officer. If he say, I'm a patriot. I am too. I went even further because I went to the military. He say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have the education and experience. These are things that he talks about. I actually got more experience than you. Well, you're just afraid of it. Everything that he has, I have a counter. And what that does to his 8 million viewers, and he knows this, it deflates the air out of his tire. It doesn't bother. They don't care no matter how right the other person is. They just want to see him in the ring fighting. What they don't want to see him do is actually sit down with somebody that has the information. When I was on News Nation with him, and he said, Attorney Crump he only runs the cases when white people are involved. Not when somebody dead, when the murderer is black. And I was able to say, how is that true? When he was there for me, when my cousin, who was also 19, Elliot, by the way, who was also a football player, by the way, who went off with friends, so-called friends, 2 or 3 friends, and we found his body. They shot him and murdered him in a field 30 days later. Very similar circumstances. How could that be when he did that? He said, well, that's just one. Go back and watch the interview. And I said, no, there's more. That's when they started it's cutting me off. Because I can name many cases where everybody involved was black. When the case of the sister, and I'm having a brain fart that we all remember, starts with an S, went to Mexico. Remember the so-called friends? Remember she was murdered? You guys remember that? And she didn't come back with her so-called friends, and all of them were black. Attorney Crump works that case as well. So this is why he doesn't want to sit down with somebody that actually can say, and you can have your criticisms about Crump, you really can, but he doesn't want to sit down with somebody that takes away the talking points. And so it's not just Brandon, it's just as a whole. It's why the right has been recruiting me for years. They've offered me money, fame, being seen. Oh man, Tezlyn. Before Candace Owens was Candace Owens, when she was a Democrat, Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, they ended up flipping on him. They had him on the phone when I got off the stage for the very first time at the DNC convention. He said, Tezlyn will make you rich, will make you famous, but you got to come to our side. That's when Candace was a Democrat. That was before Brandon Taylor. I don't know if he was in the game at that time or not. They were literally looking for me. They have recruited me online, publicly, and behind the scenes. They will make you rich. We'll support you. And I know they will. I actually know they will. I know they would give me plenty of money, and they would create an environment that I could just be insulated. And all I have to do is come on here and say, pull yourself up out of bootstraps, be a businesswoman like me, run a business. I have all the things, all the checks that they love from the conservative talking points, but I have the receipts. And so they've been wanting me to do it for years, Ellie. And that's why it's important that people know why you're not exposing anything new to him when you're saying, oh, he's just a tool. Oh, they're just using him. He knows this. It is a high paying job. He has 8 million followers. I think my YouTube has 5,000 people, if you will. I haven't posted on YouTube probably in 3 years, Elliot. I don't even do that. Like seriously, I don't do that. So my platform seems small to him, which it is. But I've also talked to just as many people hear me. They don't follow me on Fox News. So I can post as more viewers than CNN and MSNBC combined. They hear my message. They just don't come follow me. I only get new follows when I come to places like this where people say, man, I want to tap into her. But I rarely do these things, if at all, ever really. I don't do interviews. I probably should.
Well,
I just don't.
Well, I'm so grateful that you did this one. I just have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Actually, that's not true. I have 1,000 more questions, but I know because I study human psychology that the attention span maxes out about 90 minutes, which we've been going for almost 90 minutes. We're gonna have to wrap up in a few minutes.
Sorry.
But no, this has been amazing. This has been amazing. This has been the longest and the second most watched episode of my show here. So you apologize for 0. I want to talk to you about the thew call.
Yes.
When the enhanced audio for the thew call came out, because by that time I was a very, very visible spokesman for what was happening in the case and had been making some videos. And people would DM me, a very credible audio engineer, not Janetta, but a very credible audio engineer said, I even enhanced it beyond Janetta. I was like, how do I know this is real? I end up on the phone with this person. I got their resume, talked to the references. I knew that I'm talking to an actual audio engineer who did this. And when he sent it to me, I said I would put it out, which I did. And then the number one thing is everybody's in my DMs. Make sure this gets to Ben Crump.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure this gets to Ben Crump. Make sure this gets to Ben Crump. So I'm going to ask you a 2-part question. Number one, how much confidence should people have that Ben Crump he gets access to the information he gets access to? Because when I'm getting this, I'm like, yo, if y'all send this to me, Ben Crump is aware of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the public really knows that because he's got to protect the case.
Yeah.
And you don't always want to say what you have or don't have. So I want you to speak to Ben Crump has access to all the information. And if we're seeing it, he's seeing it, and the legal team is seeing it. And then the second part is there anything you can say about the evidentiary value of the thew call?
Yes. And I'm happy to answer as many questions as you have about it, the case, Ellie. And I promise, now that I got my riff up, I don't have to make every answer so long. I want to be careful when I say, because when you ask, I believe in words. When you say he has access to all the information, he doesn't have access to all, because as you know, that's absolute, and that would mean it would
true. Yeah.
Each
and
everything. But yes, especially when people tag, he's not sitting up on social media all day. So I do want you guys to know that. When people tag me in things, and I tell people I see a whole lot, just because I don't speak on it, don't mean I don't see it. So yes, he's very aware of the thew call for sure. He's aware of that. And this is why, again, knowing who does what in this war is critically important, because if somebody sends you something, Elliot, and you say, I'm gonna send it to Ben Crump's team and I'm in proximity to that, but everybody doesn't have proximity, or they may be in my inbox and I may not see it. I don't follow it. We only get your messages if we follow each other. So you go into another box, and I don't know if people realize that, because most people who are on social media follow people and vice versa. And so you think everything comes to the inbox. We have another inbox, most of us who have public profiles, that if we don't follow you, it's in this hidden box, this hidden request box. So a lot of stuff is in.
It's literally called hidden.
Literally. Yeah. So I will go through and be like, let me see what I'm missing. And people will tag me in things. And sometimes it takes 5, 10, 15 times of tagging, which again, remember what I said, everybody has a job in the war, and the comment caucus is critical. So what I don't want people to do is say, oh, I'm sure he got this and he's seen it. No, tag, make sure, but also tag somebody that is in proximity. But then when 50 people are tagging Attorney Crump on something, that can raise awareness.
Right.
When 100 people are tagging, but if you're sitting back and saying, we do that naturally. Oh, well, I'm not going to, she already see it. It's kind of like with men. I don't want to switch gears with relationships, but people, they understand that. If a man sees a fine woman and this and that, and oh yeah, I'm sure she got a man. I'm sure she don't need me. She don't want to, you make that assumption, and you don't know. You never knew unless you ask. So, and then people say, I don't want to look like I'm cloud chasing. We can break down the cycle, why people, I don't want to look like I'm supporting, or I don't want to look like I'm kissing their ass, or I don't want to look like, but you'll go tag something all day long for somebody else. So what I'm saying is, if you see something, say something. And don't just assume because 15 people tagged it that I saw it or he saw it. Keep tagging. But just because he doesn't say it which is your real point, Elliot, just because he doesn't say, hey, I see it, doesn't mean he didn't see it.
That. I want people to I think sometimes this has been my perception anyway, that sometimes people question his competence. And I think we have to understand that, like, sometimes he's quiet strategically.
Yes.
So I'm glad people share stuff with me, and I will post it. I know that Tezlyn and I know that the news and the bloggers pick up my content. So when I put it out, I know it's getting reach. And I want everybody, like, you guys are doing your part just by being in the comment and having this conversation. You guys are going to do your part when you follow me. And by the way, follow Super Ghetto Tezlyn. Follow her. And when you see us post clips from this interview, share those clips, like these clips, because it gets the real message from somebody who's actually involved in there. So we're all doing our part right now in this very moment.
Yes.
But I also want people to realize, like, just because Benjamin Crump didn't post about a piece of evidence doesn't mean that he doesn't have it. It doesn't mean he doesn't understand its value. It doesn't mean that his team is not dissecting that particular piece of evidence. So all things are necessary. So can you speak to the evidentiary value of that enhanced CTO call?
Yeah, it's amazing. And guys, please support, Janetta Brantley, who and I'm going to drop it in the chat if you guys don't mind. It's critically important that she is supported as well by her. And when I mean supported, I mean donate to her page. She has a GoFundMe set up too. Like, people take real loss with this. And
yes.
I do a thing called consequence of consciousness. Like, I know I crash out. I sign up for this, but there's people like her that were really, truly just minding their business. That really was like, something's wrong, see something, say something, and they suffer a financial loss. And she's so humble, and she doesn't ask for these things, and she hasn't. But when I look at the other side raising, almost $200,000 in less than a week to support them in the event if they need an attorney or if they need support, this is where, again, the Army's critically important. So I'm asking on her behalf to support her for any potential loss she has endured or may endure, any potential legal issues she may come up with. And I'm gonna drop that in the chat. So, like, that's critically important. So let's first wrap our arms around Janetta Brantley, who actually did it first. A lot of people were in the comments about that too, Ellie, when they were saying, oh, Nancy got a white lady doing it. I guess you don't want to believe the black women. Well, I didn't want to correct y'all because I like it when y'all push the line. But I do want to say that everybody has to have their own person look at it too. We can't just say because you saw it that, it's somehow minimizing the black woman. I'm not saying that for Nancy. I'm saying that for our team. Because a lot of times it is to minimize the black woman. Let's be clear. And it wasn't my job to try to dissect that for Nancy. She can speak on her own. But I do want y'all to know that on our side, our side of things, nobody's taking anything from Janetta Brantley when we say, our experts also, had to look at it, because any case that you do, you have to be able to quantify, qualify. And if you know anything about going to any case, both sides have experts doing the same thing. Your expert looks at it, my expert looks at it, and we both come, through decide what the jury gets to decide which expert they want to believe. So it was never a diss on her with any means. I say that to say, because when you say evidentiary value, that connects directly to the evidentiary value of it. Who dissected it? Who looked at it? What is their background on doing those things? So with Janetta, who is an audio engineer who is good at what she does, and I support and want you guys to support it. If we were to go to court, we would have to have, and I'm just giving an example, somebody that has experience in doing that alone, not stumbling upon it or being good at does that make sense? Being good at audio. You would need a forensic evidence, expert in certain things. If I bring a therapist, this is why I loved what you had to say about Cheyenne Bryant. Great commentary. She made great points, a lot of great things. But if I'm going to have a trial, then I got to bring somebody with the actual evidence, the actual expertise to be able to say, this is why this person is an expert and why. So even though you may have really, really great things to say, I have to be able to attach that to an expert. So I want to say that because as Attorney Crump talks about the CETO and experts, I know there was a lot of things that people saying, well, why come y'all just can't believe Janetta? No, it's not that people not believing Janetta. We have to have 5, 10, 15 people that also say what Janetta said, if that makes sense.
That's right.
So great value with that call. Immediately on the other side, Brandon started. First they said, oh, it must not be real. Then when they realized it actually was real, then it went to, oh, you're taking it out of context. Well, I tell the people this. You have ears. You hear what you hear. It wasn't just one time that something was said, and this is not me accusing them of anything allegedly. There's multiple things that you can hear quite clear. Let's take out that you didn't hear Nolan or no. Let's just remove that. Did you hear, is he still breathing? Did you hear check his chest? Did you hear the operator say? Notice the operator said, how many people are still breathing? You don't think that's odd for the operator to say, how many people are breathing? I just think that's a strange thing to ask. Now, I don't know if was something else said that maybe is not there, or did she hear something that we didn't hear? But I want you to walk yourself through a call. And if you were calling for help for a boat, somebody said, damn it, Bart. And I know y'all say that. And can I speak to that a minute? Because I'm not saying don't keep saying that in the comments, but I could be saying damn it about anything. I want y'all to, because I also want y'all to know what to advocate for, what words that should trigger you. Everybody say, damn it, Bart, damn it, Bart. That could be, damn it, Bart, you stepped on my toe. Damn it, Bart, you know, the boat's going down. Still raise awareness. But I'm literally telling you the things that you should be raising awareness. The things like check his chest. The things like, is he breathing? Is he dead? That's far more powerful than someone saying, you see what I'm saying? So raise awareness, but I also wanted to redirect people to the things that is undisputed that we all heard. Brandon Tatum kept going back and forth with if he said Nolan or not. Okay, let's take that off the table then. Let's take it off the table. These other things were said multiple times. And then let's say that so much commotion, Elliot, was going on that they didn't say any of the things they said. Well, now let's deal with, why did the operator ask that question?
That's right. That's an unusual question.
That's a very unusual question. If I were to call you, you know, black people, we love, if somebody's going to a party, what's the first thing black people say when we call and we...
Who all over there?
Who all over there? See, that's how I know you black for real. Who is over there? And typically when a black person says that, it means you ain't coming. It means that I am looking for some out because I really don't want to come. Let's talk to him now, Elliot. I'm looking for, I need to, before I go over there, I need to know who all over there.
Who all over there?
Do you say how many people are breathing?
No, never.
Or do you say who's all over there? So if I'm on a call and I'm in distress and I'm saying, and remember, this wasn't about distress, I was saying, come tow me. Remember, this was a CETO call. Pay attention, guys. This was a CETO call, not a 911. Let's break that down, Elliot. 911, a 911 operator, maybe they will go to breathing or...
Is anybody in peril? Is anybody in crisis? Everybody alive? Anybody got broken bones? Any imminent injuries? Because what CETO was trying to think, like, we can tow you, but do we need emergency services? Do we need to send something more emergent? And something that CETO person ask a question to see, do I need to send more stuff?
Right. You don't call AAA. Anybody that calls AAA to be told. The first question, are y'all getting something out of this? Put a 5 if you're getting something out of this. The first question AAA asks you, are you in a safe location? When you say, I need a tow, they ask you, are you safe? Are you on the road? Are you out of harm's way? because they're thinking about wherever the car was disabled and are you in harm's way. Now, one time, do I call AAA and they say, how many adults are breathing? Now, if I call
Correct.
911,
Yes.
they do. So I do want you guys to know the value in that. See, tow, they were calling a tow company, if you will, for a boat. And she asked multiple times how many people are breathing. And I don't know if it was because she heard something or if there was something else we're missing allegedly. I don't know. But those are the things, guys, that if you're going to raise awareness on these things, I'm pointing to what you need to be making in the comment closing argument. And it's because, damn it, Bart can be disputed. Still raise awareness to that. But I would like to see those things raise awareness. And that's why having conversations with people like me and Elliot is important, because now I'm giving you the tools to go fight the war.
I got to sneak in one more question.
Yes.
The autopsy seems very important, and the public is very curious as to why the details have not been released. Now, there's someone very close to me who is an attorney, and I asked him, because I know that autopsies are usually public record, part of public record. And I asked him, how unusual is it for an autopsy not to be made public? And this person, very, very close to me, said, I've never heard of it. And I said, what reasons would someone have not to release the autopsy? And he, super unbiased, he's not even a guy on social media a whole lot. And he was saying, I don't know, but if I think about it, the only thing I can think is if somehow the autopsy had some sort of criminal investigative implications. So I think what the public wants to know, like we don't have access to the autopsy because they have not allowed us to see it as a public, but have the lawyers seen the autopsy that was done by the state?
No. And to your point, the attorney is right that sometimes it could be because there's a possible criminal investigation, but also because Attorney Crump fights in the court of public opinion. They also don't want Attorney Crump to release it, because if he releases it, then folks like you will be talking about it. And that's what they fear. They fear that. They fear people actually talking about it before they can get ahead of the narrative and frame it in their own ways. It's why a lot of attorneys don't like Attorney Crump. To be very honest with you, they do not like. Attorneys hate this. They cringe at this shit. They cringe at putting information out there for everybody to make videos and everybody to talk about it. They literally hate it. So twofold, he's right about it could be connected to a criminal investigation, or it may not be at all, but they know that once the content, once Ben puts it out, it's out. And we're going to run with it, because our role is not only to fight the system, but to decode it, if you will, using your words, to decode what you're seeing. And that is what they fear. Also, I can say publicly that no, it has not been shared with the family. It is not, for those reasons, because if it's shared with the family, then that means it's shared with Attorney Crump. And that means we're going to tell y'all. We're running and telling y'all. We snitching, and we don't care about the stitches. And that's what they literally are afraid of. And to attorneys' credit, because of my good friend, Attorney Charles Coleman, former prosecutor, he said the same thing. He was like, no, we can't. They're not going to do it. But I also had to get on him, too, because he said, it's a process. We have to go through the process. And he argued on the other side of saying that most of his cases that he worked with, this is my good friend Charles, he's an Omega with Ben and all of that. But again, he's an MSNBC commentator. And he argued that a lot of cases that he saw didn't reveal the autopsy. And then he said, so when I got on the phone with him, this is why it's good to, when you got other lawyers or lawyers in training having conversation, which again is why what Elliot did, which Bryant was so critical. Everybody else in the comments like, oh, Charles, I understand now. I understand now what you mean. It would mess up the case. But then I said, well, counselor, how do you know that with Mississippi? Have you worked on a case in Mississippi? And then his first answer was, and I love Charles, but you go look at this in the comments. His first answer was, well, jurisdiction aside, blah, blah, blah. Counselor. Civil procedure. We can't do jurisdiction aside. We got to go to the jurisdiction. Quite literally. We can't say jurisdiction aside. Let's ask and see what happens in Mississippi. Because Fannie Lou Hamer said in Mississippi, they do it in a subtle way. That's what she said about Mississippi. So you can't tell me to skip past jurisdiction when half this book is talking about jurisdiction, Brother Charles. That's why it's important when we have these conversations, we have people that can counter, that have the information and the knowledge. And Charles is what I aspire to be, except prosecution. I would never, but I love Charles. But I'm just saying, he is actually a real attorney. But I knew enough information to say, you can't say jurisdiction aside, brother. He said, well, I don't know about Mississippi, but let's stop right there. Let's stop right there, because that's the question we have to ask. Do they typically release it in Mississippi? And the answer, if we go by the data, the reason why they're not is because of the things I laid out to you, not because they're following the process. You can't frame this, Charles, as, oh, they're following the process. No, this is a different process. This is a different situation because of all of the elements that are involved that are happening. And one of them is putting it out in the public that they do not like.
So one of the things that stands out to me, and I'm going to just break that down, I'm going to decode it, if you will. That's sad, actually. And I did not know the answer to that question. By the way, y'all should know I gave her no pre-questions, and nor did she ask. Like, this is a very organic conversation. I didn't know any question I asked her. I didn't know what the answer would be until she said it. What I find psychologically remarkable about what she just said, if two things. When I was on with Nancy Grace, there was a medical professional who does forensic analysis, basically a medical examiner. And she asked him about the condition the body was in being shipped to DC for the private autopsy. And he said, it's not uncommon for some organs to be left behind because those organs need to be further examined. But he said he's never, ever in his entire career heard about a throat being kept behind. And also, everybody just heard Tezlyn said the family nor the lawyers have been exposed to the state autopsy. I find that curious. And the reason I find that curious is because if that autopsy supported their narrative, I imagine they would release that immediately, because then that would stop all of this conversation. So if the narrative is accidental drowning and the autopsy supported that narrative, then they would say, look, we did the autopsy. It supports accidental drowning. Here you go. So my brain starts thinking, if the narrative doesn't support accidental drowning, because I imagine we would have seen that immediately if that's the case, then what is the autopsy indicating?
That's right.
And it's sad to me. And I say sad in a societal, it's angering and frustrating micro, but macro, it's like, just tell the family the damn truth and let the wheels of justice do what the wheels of justice need to do.
Well, see, the wheels of justice, that's the whole thing. What wheels of justice?
But justice is still a thing.
Yes.
Justice in Mississippi behaves in the way that we're seeing. But I believe very strongly they would have no reason to hold that information from the public or either legal side if the autopsy supported the stated narrative of accidental drowning.
Yes, that's a logical belief. I mean, if you don't, I said clearly, if you don't want people to speculate, then investigate, give the information, stop the narrative.
And I said in one of my videos, the only thing that kills curiosity is certainty. So
that's right.
The reason why the public is so curious is because the powers that be, for whatever reason, are withholding certainty from us. And I'm absolutely interested in what is in that autopsy that does not support the narrative of drowning that you are trying to withhold and control.
Let me ask you a question. If it comes out, let's say they say it's drowning now, would you believe it?
No.
Would the public believe it?
I would not believe it because you held that information for this long. And even if it were true, if they released it today, like our autopsy says drowning, we're 100% transparent about that, we're 100% honest about that, it's 100% true. Even if that were true, what you've put these parents through is cruel. To know that it was drowning for about a month, because the autopsy was done about a month ago, to be sitting on that information and withhold it from two grieving parents speaks to your level of absolute cruelty, if that is in fact what that autopsy finds. But to your question, Tezlyn, no, I would not believe them, because there's no reason for you to have held that information for this long. And the most likely reason that I can think of as to why that information has been withheld is because it does not support your narrative. Now, I want to be abundantly clear about this. That doesn't mean I know what narrative it supports, but it does make me question, if the narrative is he drowned accidentally, and these are good American boys, and I want everybody to understand, as I said in one of my videos, that's code for the good white kids don't suspect them of anything. That's what, when you refer to somebody like this, these are good American Christian boys, that's code for they're above reproach because of their whiteness. But the truth is, if the narrative is Nolan Wells died accidentally, and that narrative was supported by the autopsy, we could have and should have heard that the day the autopsy was done. And that, per legal standards, is the norm, because an autopsy is a public record. Everybody needs to understand that. An autopsy is a public record. This they're not making public. And they're forcing a whole bunch of people to say, why not? And to me, I think the phone is important, and I'm so glad to have heard what I heard yesterday. I think the Cito call is important, and I'm so glad that Janetta and others have enhanced that audio. And there's, so many other details that Tezlyn is aware of that we don't have time to get into every single one of them. Obviously, we'd have Tezlyn here for 8 hours, that are relevant here. But to me, the most important piece of psychology to me is you have overtly put out a narrative. Within a few hours of Nolan Wells' body being discovered, the sheriff in that area said there's no evidence of foul play. If the autopsy supported that, they've already demonstrated that they don't mind saying things quickly. If the autopsy supported that, they would say that quickly. And they would say, hey, the thing the sheriff said, we did an autopsy, it supports the thing the sheriff said. The fact that they have not released that information, either publicly or to the attorneys or to the family, is A, cruel, and B, makes me think that that autopsy does not support that original narrative.
Can I ask you a question? Because I know, and I've known of your work, but I really, really tapped in with the Bryant thing. And I'm bringing this comment to attention, not because, oh, don't worry about the comments, but it's, when we address comments, it's not because it's this one person. It is, a larger thing. Somebody said, Tezlyn, if you want people to talk to you, you don't have to talk about your accolades. Just answer the question. And I had to bring this up to you because you decoded that so well with Bryant. See, there's a thing that, and that's why I brought context on my background, which I know can be triggering to people for many reasons why, and I'm sure you can break that down.
I'll answer that right now.
People have a real issue. Well, let me let you, the psychotherapist, break down. Why is somebody bothered that I say that I have a expertise in something and I verify it and I show the proof? How many others don't want to show the proof, and then give you the information, opposed to me just talking and it sounding good. That's my first question, two-part. And why does it feel better to people that I just talk just to talk without saying, I know this and this is why I know it and here's the evidence to support it? And I say that just because of your brilliant work with Bryant, which is weird to see. They're probably a troll, but to see, I'm asking because to see somebody say that in your comments, I'm sure you hear it often because you're always talking about you're expert. And I know why you're saying that, but why do people find that bothersome when you're teaching?
Well, so I'm going to give two explanations. Number one, they don't understand the position that people like you and I are in. We are not just popular because we have big platforms. We have attained expertise and experience to allow us to be in the position that we're in. And most people don't understand that. So when you say what you said, or I say what I say, it sounds like bragging, and people are triggered by bragging because sometimes bragging sounds like you're insulting me. Like I'm saying I'm great, so I'm also saying you're not great. But here's what they don't understand and what they need to understand. So that's the psychological thing, is bragging often triggers. If I'm like, look, I just closed a $20 million deal to have my podcast on the Black Effect. like you're showing off your wealth makes me feel bad about my absence of wealth, right? So that's the explanation behind it. The thing that people need to understand, and this is critically important, so I need everybody to say this. I need everybody to understand this. When Tezlyn walks into a room with her legal expertise, soon to be a law degree when she finishes and graduates, and all of her background, her blackness makes that room question her credibility. And by the way, as Tezlyn said earlier, the conservative movement is very good at this war. Do you guys know why they're attacking DEI? I'm going to tell you exactly why they're attacking DEI. So when Tezlyn walks into a room with her education, expertise, certificates, et cetera, and they have to acknowledge she got all of those things, they can now discredit her by saying, yeah, but you only got those because you're a DEI hire. You didn't get those on the merit of your work. You got those because we had to lower the bar to let people like you in. That's why they do it. I have a person that works for me. His name is Dr. Adam Thrower. He is a brilliant researcher. We're going to interview him later this week on this platform because, and this is going to blow y'all away, but Brandon Tatum misunderstood the research. He kept saying the Harvard study. Well, my buddy, the researcher, was watching that interview. He downloaded the study, read it, and he texted me. He said he's lying about what this study, well, actually what he said is he's misinterpreting, but he's inaccurate and misleading about what this actual study said. We're going to break him down later. But Adam is white, and I've posted Adam, and Adam has been my homie for 15 years. We met in 2010, and we've been working together writing books. He's the one who co-wrote these books with me. By the way, shout out to the book. Go get him, go get him, go get him, go get him. But he co-wrote these 2 books with me. And in his whiteness, no one has ever, in the comment section of one of our posts, ever asked him, where'd you get your doctorate degree? Are you actually licensed? How do I know I should be listening to you? But they ask me at least once a day. Yes. At least once a day, someone will say, why don't you have your degrees behind you? And I don't have my degrees behind me because I just chose not to. I had my degrees hanging on my wall and had a physical office before COVID. COVID happened. I now work online, and I just didn't put my degrees on the wall. I have them. They're right over there. And people are like, but you should have your degrees. But if you watch Adam's Zoom, his background, he doesn't have his degrees behind him either. So why do they question Adam, but they don't question me? Mm-hmm. And the answer is racial bias. That's right. And by the way, that's why I brought up the term internalized racism recently, because some of y'all black people fall for racial bias without even realizing that it's happening, because you've adopted the mindset, mentality, and perspective of the oppressor. That's right. So when Tezlyn walks into a room, you're happy to say, oh, look at that black queen. But when she says, oh, this black queen graduated with these degrees, how do I know? Well, Tezlyn has to tell you, because what Tezlyn is doing is she is preempting the attack. That's right. She's saying, I know you're going to question my credibility. So before I answer Elliot's questions, I need y'all to understand how I got into the position to know the answer to the questions. That's right. If Tezlyn were white, she wouldn't do that, because you would assume she's in a position to answer the questions. And I know that about myself. I don't look like the typical clinician. My shoe collection don't look like the typical clinician. Right. So I have to tell y'all, like, and you have to say it over and over. Somebody said, well, right. You've said it once. Well, you're not the only one. People come in and out. People click. People come in and out of these chats. And I got to say, I got to frame it every time. That's why in the court of law, we frame it every time. Like, I couldn't have said, when I challenged Charles Coleman, my brother, when I said that he said jurisdiction aside, I had to literally say it and show you the book and remind you. So even though I told you my bio in the beginning, I had to say it in that particular answer at that particular moment. Correct. Because I know, one, you forgot, because many of you want to forget, and some of this is projecting and trolls and all of that. But I'm wanting you to explain that this is why I have to say it. I have to show you that jurisdiction is in the book that I read, so that you would it would then confirm, if you will, or validate why I challenged him on that. Because Charles could say, well, you don't know because you. So I have to frame it all the time, which is why I rarely do interviews, because I got to frame it all the time, over and over and over and over and over. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind telling you, I don't mind telling the audience, I'm among the best therapists in the world. Go ahead. And I know that I am because of my practice history, because of what I experience when I talk to clients, because of the feedback I get when I travel the world teaching people how to do therapy. And more importantly, I earned the ability to say it.
That's right.
Oftentimes, when people say stay humble, what they're actually saying is stop making me uncomfortable with your greatness. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I am not a great mechanic. I am not a great golfer. I am not a great builder. I am not great with technology. Like I'm not arrogant. Arrogant people think they're just great at everything.
That's right.
Right? Arrogant people are like, I've never worked on a car, but I bet I can do it better than you. That's arrogance.
Right.
This is earned credibility. I got multiple degrees and I spent 2 decades before y'all even heard my name. I had an office in Keller, Texas, where I saw 10 clients a day, 6 days a week for a decade.
Yeah.
That was literally my story. I started wanting to share my information in my head with people, so I started writing books. People read my books and invited me to Bath, UK was my first international lecture. And somebody's like, oh, you're really good on stage. And I've been speaking on stages ever since. I never expected to be on the Black Effect, have a TV deal. I never expected any of those things. Somebody saw a YouTube video I made about solution-focused brief therapy, the kind of therapy I do, that had a few dozen views. Okay, I want to be clear about that.
Right.
And they were like, Elliot, will you come out to LA? Because we think we could do something with you. And through that process, I met Tiffany Haddish. She's now co-producing my TV show. I met Tasha Smith. They're making they're making a scripted show about my life, and Tasha Smith is going to direct it. I met who liked my work and had me do a podcast on his network. But for a decade, y'all didn't know me because I'm sitting in my office 10 hours a day, 6 days a week doing therapy. So when I tell you I'm the greatest,
I know that's right.
it's because I worked real hard to be able to say that without blinking and without flinching.
That's right.
So if you're offended by me saying it, it tells me that you're triggered and I just made you uncomfortable by owning my greatness. And I would advise all of you to own yours. And the other thing it tells me, you don't understand how much we get questioned because they don't assume I walked in with greatness. Like, now, this is very much a racial thing. And I want to give you 2 examples to tell you why. White people experience this too. It just happens on a basketball court, not in a league.
Oh, talk to him.
So like if I walk into a basketball court with a white guy and I say we got next, the black guy's going to look at the white guy and assume he's not deserving of being there. They're going to assume you're only there because you're friends with Elliot. He has to prove that he belongs on that basketball court. Tezlyn has to prove that she belongs in that legal court. It is not fair. That is the reality that credentialed, educated, licensed people like myself and soon to be Tezlyn have to do, because you will question whether or not we belong in that space.
And let's do the data. Let's give you the numbers, guys, so that it can really bring some context. There are 46 million Black people in America. 46 million. There are close to 2-3 million lawyers, licensed attorneys. Guess how many Black lawyers? Licensed attorneys, 68,000, Elliot. 68,000. When I tell people there's not even 100,000, I did some math yesterday because it's not from a bragging standpoint. I actually want you to know why when lawyers walk in the room, why they actually think we're the defendant. Like seriously, why it's so unique. There are, and I'm gonna say this, there are 86 million content creators, 86 million. That do what you do. And I don't know the therapy numbers, but I was telling, I said, we don't even have 100,000 Black licensed attorneys. So I have to say it over and over and over because it's not even, and I think, Elliot, people think because Killer Mike said that, I was on his show last week, because he knows 4 or 5 Black lawyers in Atlanta. And he's like, oh, I know this lawyer and that lawyer. And I know, like you said, a real close friend of mine. But when you actually look at the data, like the actual data, they're just simply not there. And when you break that down, guess how many are women? Let's just say we go into half if we just do 50-50, which is not. 30,000 women, 30,000 men at best out of 46 million licensed to practice.
But that's why what Killer Mike said is actually dangerous, actually. And, I love Killer Mike.
And I told him, by the way. Yeah.
Told him what? That I love him?
Because I awaken him on those things his privilege. He
Well,
has Atlanta privilege on his. It's like if you grew up
exactly.
in Chicago, you have Atlanta privilege on. He always says all of my villains and my heroes were both black. So he doesn't understand that's not everybody's world
But
outside of Atlanta.
but to tell people how privilege works, and it really annoys me when people say craziness to me, like, there's no such thing as privilege. Yes, there is. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, which I'm gonna argue with anybody who wants to argue about this. Best pizza on the planet. So my normal experience as a young child was with my usually an aunt or uncle, hey, we're gonna go get pizza. I was like, yes, okay, great. And I'd get these thick, delicious, to me, that was just normal pizza. Well, later on in my life, when I moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and somebody said, we're gonna go get pizza, I was like, yes, amazing, let's do this. And the most popular chain pizza in Boston, Massachusetts is called Papagino's. And when I got it, I was like, what is this? Because my lived experience told me pizza is very high quality. Pizza looks like this. So Killer Mike can't be a rapper, which is a black genre, in Atlanta, which is a black city, and say, I know a whole bunch of black people doing X, Y, or Z. Yeah, but what about more importantly than the people in Chicago or Atlanta who are in a black community? And the black community is so diverse. We're not a monolith. The black community is so diverse. If Tezlyn says there's only X percentage of black lawyers, there's a high probability that they're going to be in a place like Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, and Atlanta. Mm-hmm. What we need to have more care for is the black family that finds themselves in Cheyenne, Wyoming, that is not a black community, but ends up in a situation where they sure could use a black lawyer.
That's right.
Because it's easier for Killer Mike to find one because his ecosystem is Atlanta. He could throw a rock and find a black person doing just about anything in Atlanta. But what if I live in a white community in southern Mississippi and my child is missing?
Yeah.
And then finds out they're deceased. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy for me to find a black attorney.
And he understands that. That's why him and I have those conversations, because he says, Tezlyn, you always put that into perspective. And I want to go even further, just because I do want to defend Attorney Crump with this. When people say, why do they always call Crump? Why do they always call Crump? Why don't they call somebody else? Guys, I just gave you the numbers, like quite literally the numbers. There's only 68,000. And I can tell you that when we dumb those numbers down, Elliot, when I tell you that there's 5 million adults that are in some level of supervision, parole, jail, penitentiary, probation, 2 million of those are black. When I tell you that when you look at 68,000 attorneys, the majority of those attorneys, they want to make money. So they're in corporate big law, they're in family law, civil rights is way at the bottom, they're in criminal law, they're in everything else but civil rights. I'm giving y'all the real data. So when you say anybody can say something online, but you actually need a licensed attorney that actually has a bar card that can actually file a lawsuit for you. You actually do. I know ChatGPT does a lot of things, but it won't be making the case. It won't be making the case. You actually have to have a human. You have to have a human because they got to be able to sue you if you get it wrong. So when you look at those numbers, and then when you look at the amount of attorneys who are willing to, when you bring these cases to the forefront, you are picking a fight with your sheriff. You're picking a fight with your governor. You're picking a fight with the judges. When I did the House Club rape case of 13 black women who were raped in Oklahoma City, they literally shut me out saying, you're causing a problem for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because this is before Thunder got really, really popular. And it was a tourism problem to be talking about an officer that was pulling over black women and were raping them. By the way, I live next door to the officer. When I say quite literally, I mean literally next door while I fought that case. My grandmother's house is next door to the police station. So that's when I say run to it, Ellie, I mean it literally. Anyway, so when people say, why do people call it Attorney Crump? There's not a lot of lawyers that are willing to do it, that want to do it. And when they call Crump, it's their last call. A lot of people think it's the first call. It's not. Attorneys like, I don't want to be bothered with that. I don't get any money from that. The chances of having black life being valued where the state would actually find the person guilty or win a civil matter to get the money is slim to none. Those are the things that people just don't have a clue of what they're talking about, Elliot. It is literally, I watch attorneys say, oh, wait a minute, we can't say that. I can't say that because Judge so gonna say that. They still have to go practice in front of these folks. So Crump has been one taking a lot of the hits so that the local attorney, which we always have to work with, by the way, can work more behind the scenes. You see Crump because there's not a lot, and I mean that quite literally. That will do what he does.
But that's why when people say Crump's an ambulance chaser, I find offense to that because what he is he's a black superhero because it's hard to find him. It's not hard to find in LA. It's not hard to find in Houston. It's not hard to find in Chicago. It's not hard to find in DC. And it's not hard to find in Atlanta. But I'll tell you where it is hard to find in an affluent neighborhood in Mississippi. And I think as black people, we have the like we all have a desire like and it's been this way since I remember moving on up to like we make a little money we're gonna move out of the hood and go to the high rise building but you're leaving your safety net too like it's wonderful move to the suburbs buy the big house I got y'all I love it do it but you also have to understand you're leaving the black barber you're leaving the black restaurant you're leaving the black doctor you're leaving the black dentist and you're leaving the black attorney. So when something happens to your family out in those suburbs, I don't know if y'all understand the area where Carmelo Anthony lived. There are no black people out there.
Yep.
Um, he lives in one of the most affluent cities in our country. That's where that family lived.
Yeah.
And I am 100% sure. I've never talked to the family as Tezlyn has, but I am 100% sure when they moved their family out to Frisco, Texas, they did so thinking this is a great environment to raise our children and the education system is better. So we're going to move from wherever we were, and we're going to raise our family in this area. But they don't realize leaving our community comes with a risk. And what Ben Crump does is he says, I'm willing to go get those people and bring them justice. And for anyone, you don't have to like the way he talks. You don't like the way he presents. You don't have to like every single choice that he makes. But damn it, I don't understand why we need him because he goes where other people won't go and tries to provide justice for those people. And that's the value. He's like Batman. Um, we can't get mad at Batman. Like he's willing to go to Frisco, Texas. And Frisco, Texas is one of the most racist communities in our country, by the way, because of its affluence, because of its racial makeup. Google Frisco, Texas. They are targeting black and brown people in their city council meetings. And this is not a place that Benjamin Crump, if he were my friend and he was like, oh, I'm going to go have lunch in Frisco, I'd be, hey man, if I were you, I'd probably go to South Dallas.
It's where, by the way, it's where I built my first house.
Right.
But where I built my first house, bought my first house and built my second house in Frisco, Texas, early when it was still being built in the year 2004. So which is why Carmelo Anthony's our family clicked so much because you're absolutely right in what they thought they were doing. His dad is from New Orleans. So they came from an area of poverty stricken for real. It was like, let me go here and maybe this is the better choice. That's why we clicked so well because I said, I understand exactly why you thought you were making the best choice and how you could insulate them. Also, by the way, that's where Big Meech called his case. When they called Big Meech in 2007, it was in Frisco because he thought he could hide in Frisco. I don't know why he thought he stuck out like a sore thumb. But to your point, he went there thinking that maybe if I'm there, it's not, I could somehow, if they see I have money or they see I'm like them or they see whatever he was thinking, that somehow they won't come find me. And they absolutely did. I'm not saying that to condone Big Meech and drug, all of that. I just want to paint it for Frisco because I don't think people understand,
No, they don't. And they don't understand how important it is that Batman is willing to go into that area. But it's incredibly important. And I have a lot of celebrity friends and associates. And one of my celebrity friends, I probably shouldn't say their name, but they're very successful and very prominent. If I said this person's name, everybody would know about it. And I've been with this person out in public, and I've seen people say stuff to this person like, why don't you move to the Hollywood Hills or to Calabasas or to Woodland Hills? And their answer was, because I feel safe in my community. So this particular person is from LA, made it huge, and their home is in South Central LA. That's where their home is. They did not take their millions and move to Woodland Hills, Calabasas, Hollywood Hills. They wanted to stay in their community. And this is why, because it feels natural to say, I'm going to go over there because I know where the hood spots are. I'm near my hairdressers or barbershops. I'm near my black doctors, dentists, because black people experience different treatments when the service provider doesn't look like us. That is supported by research. So it's important to recognize what Benjamin Crump is doing. He may not be perfect as he does it because perfect is a really high bar, but it's necessary. We have to have people like Benjamin Crump and people like Tezlyn. I'll close by saying we need people that will hear bullets and run towards the bullets. Those people are necessary, and those people are special. But we need people that hear explosions and view that not only will they run towards it, but they run towards it with the responsibility of defending the people for whom are being bombed and shot. That's a different breed of human, and that is a calling. And you don't have to talk to Tezlyn very long to understand that this woman has a calling on her. Same thing with Benjamin Crump. Like, these people are called to do what they do. They don't do it by choice. They do it by purpose, and they need us. So when you see people in the comment section saying Benjamin Crump's a ambulance chaser, I want y'all to say, I'm glad he is, because it's people like us who are in the ambulances that he's chasing. So, and we need that. Like, that's just a necessary thing. Does he sometimes not do the right thing, say the right thing? Of course.
Sure.
But I happen to know that there's a black human being in that ambulance. I want an ambulance chaser who's going to chase that ambulance.
No, that's right.
So more power to the man for doing what he's doing, and Tezlyn and the whole dream team that's working this. Was the entire reason that Carmelo Anthony is going to have a case tomorrow. This is all happening this week, guys. Like, when Tezlyn's like, we're asking to recuse the judge, what she didn't tell y'all is that's like tomorrow. It's because there's certain aspects of this case that make it appear as though he didn't get a fair and unbiased case. He didn't have a fair and unbiased judge. It's because Benjamin Crump chased that.
That's right.
That was going to happen. So Tezlyn. So I told you an hour ago.
I know. Okay, that's why I don't do shows, because I be forgetting. I just be talking like we on the phone.
No. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted to highlight you because I think your work is so important. I wanted to highlight certain details of the case, and I wanted people to see, like, as advocates being black, like, we have to do it differently. There were some people in the comments saying, like, Ellie, you need a moderator. It's like, no, you guys need to understand why she has to provide pre-context. And by the way, she's not just doing that we had, I think, the most number I saw was about 2,800 people here live, which is amazing. You guys, thank you for showing up. But this is going to live on YouTube. So she's not just providing evidence for the people here live. It's also going to be, this is going to live on YouTube. And because we went, 2 hours and however long, we're going to get 76 clips out of this.
Right, yeah. You can hang up with a moderator, guys, if that's what no, I don't want no moderator. No,
and I wouldn't do that to her.
I like a conversation. When I do these, which are not often, I want you to hear what we talk about, like if we were on the phone having a conversation. Because that's
right.
Yeah.
And that's right. And to me, if this is going to be her home, then we have to accept her for how she is and understand why she's doing what she's doing. Tezlyn knows if there's a room that says, legal professionals only, and she's like, oh, I'm one of those, I walk into that room, she knows that people are going to look at her and say, you sure you belong here? And I know that as a clinician. And there's nothing wrong with me saying, I'm just going to tell you I'm great before you even ask. Because I am. I know that I am. I've earned the right to say it. And so has Tezlyn. So thank you for being here.
A blessing to me. You never know what you need until you get it a lot of times.
Facts.
And no matter how strong I am, and everybody, strong black, this had nothing to do with being strong and a black woman and strong. No, I'm a human being at the end of the day. I isolate myself for a reason. I've had the same friends for 30 years. But in this space, there's not often people that, I have a few, I count on one hand, that experience the same thing that I experienced. It's important to deal with people that kind of live in a space. My best friends that been my best friends since I was 10 years old, my best friend, they love me. They think everything I do is great, but they're not in media. They don't deal with this. They don't know what the trolls are. They don't know what they don't know. So they understand, but they also don't live this life. So when I somebody like you that actually gets me and understands from lived experience, we do different things, but we have shared lived experiences. It is such a breath of fresh air. It is so refreshing. I appreciate you welcoming to your platform and a family, but my blessing has been meeting you. Seriously.
I
Um,
Same to me. Like
I love, like, yeah, decode me. Tell me why I don't. Let's do a whole show and tell me why I'm not rap tight. Explain this. Try and get my free therapy out of it. Like, for
oh
real.
my god.
It's not because I want to educate them. I want to learn about me too. See, that's the whole thing. I got to learn about me too. When we did the show the other day, it was like, no, that's not healing, Tezlyn. Healing is this. I'm like, for real? I thought it was that, because I'm trying to
You know,
see why.
you know what we should do? You know what we should do, Tesla? So I have a show called the Elliot Connie Show,
Yeah.
where it's an in-person interview. I literally put people on the couch, and in season 1, I shouldn't say, Tiffany Haddish is the executive producer. We have 15 guests that'll blow your way. Season 2, I gotta have Tezlyn Figaro on that show.
Yes, like, show me why. Because I know I'm codependent, which is used to my better, good and bad, double-edged sword. It's trauma. I said earlier, it's trauma behind this too.
Let's do that on my show, because that would be so dope.
Okay, love you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yo, listen, before we get off, there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, I absolutely love that woman. Thank y'all so much. That was by far the longest interview that we had, but I also think it's the most valuable because she could say things that nobody else could say. So thank y'all so much for rocking with us. 2,700 people, like, from start to finish. Like, there was no dip. Even now, like, y'all still here. A couple things I want to say. Thank y'all so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook, wherever you're watching this. Go support my Instagram channel. Go support Tezlyn Figaro. Just do a search on Instagram and you'll find her. We want to get her followers up just so she can continue to reach more people. And some, you guys will donate money. Like, I could see every now and then someone donate $2, $5. That means the world to me, because we suffer to create content like this, and sometimes suffer professionally. And I still see clients. It's my life. I will always see clients, but I don't see as many clients as I used to, because I've decided to dedicate my life to this, which is not as lucrative. So you people who decided to donate $2 and $5, like, I hope you understand how much I appreciate, because I know in the world we live in right now, that $2 and $5 goes a lot shorter than it used to go. And it took a lot more for you to earn it. So the fact that you would share it with me means the absolute world. So I love y'all for that. Thank you. I'm gonna bring Dr. Frower onto my platform later this week, and he is going to break down the research about policing, the racial bias in policing, and he's also going to break down the research that former Officer Tatum was recalling. Like I said, former Officer Tatum was not accurately demonstrating what that research meant. So let me know in the chat. Are y'all excited to hear from Dr. Adam Frower specifically say, here's what the research actually says about racial bias in policing? And here's what this particular study that Tatum was citing actually says. So just let me know in the chat if you guys are interested in that. I will excitedly pull that together. And then the last thing I'm going to say before we jump out of here is a lot of people have, and I really need your feedback on this. A lot of people in the past month, I would say, have been in my DMs asking me, do you still see clients? Do you have a group I could join? Do you have a community about mental health I could join? And to be very honest with you, my entire career up until this point has been geared towards psychotherapists. This is my first time shifting my focus to talk to the general public about mental health. And there have been hundreds, I'm not exaggerating to say that, hundreds of people in my DM saying, I'm struggling with my relationship, I'm struggling with depression, anxiety, I'm struggling with substance abuse. So I guess my question is, if I put together a group, like a mental health focused group, where like every month I would go live and answer your questions as a psychotherapist. I wouldn't be your psychotherapist, but I could ask you questions and I can answer your questions as a psychotherapist. If I taught a different mental health lesson, me and my colleague, Dr. Adam Frower, taught a different mental health lesson and provided you guys with mental health resources, and we did that every month. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Just let me know in the chat, because honestly, I've never done anything like this before. Like I said, my books are all, except that one, except that right there. But this book is about how to do therapy. So all of my content for all these years has been about how to do therapy. But now it seems to me like a whole lot of people are asking me to be to help them with their own mental health journey. And just for the past like 48 hours, I've been thinking about it in a different way. So I'm happy to produce anything that you guys would be interested in. Um, but I don't want to spend my time creating it if you don't want to be interested in. But how many of you guys would like to like be in a Zoom room with me once a month and have me answer your questions? Again, I couldn't be your actual psychotherapist, but I can answer your mental health questions and help you improve your journey. And if that's something you're interested in, shoot me a DM, leave a comment on this video. That would be the best way to kind of let me know whether this is something you guys would be a part of. And if you guys want to be a part of it, I promise you, I'll get with my team. We will create it. We'll offer it to you guys. And my goal is to heal the world. Even when I'm being yelled at by Tezlyn, she's like, I don't want healing, I want accountability. As you saw, we were talking on Willie D's show. But she's a warrior, and we need her. I'm a healer, and our community has been subjected to 400 years of trauma on this continent. And if there's anything I can do to help y'all mental health journey, then that's what I want to do. So if you guys would be interested in that, just somehow, I mean, just say yes or whatever. Just like throw that in the comments of this video. Go into my DMs on my social media. Leave a comment on any of my videos, and just know that I'm thinking about creating something like this. And if you guys are interested in it, I just want to show up for y'all, because I love my community and supporting our mental health journey. So stay tuned, man. This is going to be an amazing thing. Shout out to Tezlyn. Make sure you guys all go support her. This is our 5th episode of the show. It's the 2nd most viewed, and I personally think it's the best. Recently getting to know Tezlyn has been a professional gift to me, but also a personal gift. I'm glad to know her personally, and I have a sneaky feeling that she's going to be stuck with me for a long time, and I'm going to be stuck with her for a long time. So love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Signing off.